Hey, everybody, it's Chris Jesty, and joining me again is Brad, the illustrious
Hello.
Deviant Id. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
All right, it's playtest packet number 3 time. We do know that number 5 came out, but we're a little bit behind the times, haven't got all the way through it. That's entirely too much reading for us to do in one day.
In the MRC, 23 pages is a lot to read.
Yeah, that goes against the rules for sure.
Right?
But we did get through the 6 pages of playtest packet number 3. Oh, what? I got the wrong one pulled up.
We also had a discussion off camera to get some preliminary thoughts out of the way because we kind of rambled a little bit last time. I thought it was interesting stuff we talked about, but we'll try not to keep you that long.
Yeah, this one is a little more straightforward. I think there's a little less controversy than the last one. Maybe,
Yeah.
hopefully. The wording has been cleaned up a good amount too, for the most part.
Yeah, that is the first thing I wanted to talk about is how much I loved the wording on this one compared to previous ones, where in the previous document, even the simple stuff had like little extra, by the way, this does this. And it's like, it was supposed to be like a clarifier, but it was worded in such a way that it looked like a new rule. The big one that he changed right away, and they are updating these, which is awesome as these things get discovered. But in the last one, in the very first playtest, it said, you don't need a piloting skill roll when standing in water. And what he clarified the intent, like on the forums and stuff, what he meant was you don't need a second piloting skill roll because the piloting skill roll in water when you're running is only when you enter a hex. But he didn't have it worded that way. So it just said you don't need piloting skill rolls in water to stand up. And so everybody's like, oh, that's different. And of course, that's not what he meant. So we don't have that in this packet. It's all very nice and cut and dry. I love it.
Yeah, the majority of it is. There's still some clarifications that needed to be made, and so we will be going to the forums briefly, but it's not nearly as egregious as it was last time.
Yeah, I think this time we discovered errors of omission where, like in shields, one of the things that came up was what else from the shield do we need to know? Like, how much is this replacing? Because it doesn't say anything about it says you get a bonus to damage now, but does that replace the minus to hit you used to get? So we do need the forums for some of this stuff.
Yeah. And I've already been there at least twice in the last day over some things that I read.
Yeah. And by the time this comes out, it'll probably be even more clear, which is a good thing.
Yeah, like, for example, he clarified the shield thing as well. Like, he's like, oh, yeah, good point. I forgot about the actuators.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we'll get to that once we get to the shield section.
Yeah, but I think we should start on number 1. This was part of the leaked document, so we kind of knew this one was already coming.
Mm-hmm.
Explosive damage component, damage standardization. So anything goes boom that's not ammo now goes boom for 2 damage times the number of crit slots. Just simple, nice, and straightforward.
Yeah, I think this is fine. It's less total words than every component needing to be looked up individually for how much an AP Gauss explosion is. And then if the next game, you got to look up how much a mag shot Gauss is. So less words is good. And balance-wise, the change is totally dependent on case and also the leaked pilot hit change. So without like the rest of the rules, this change is kind of a nothing burger for me, because an AP Gauss dealing 4 damage or like 6 damage, it is better and it is nice that it's standardized, but there's so much more that goes into it that we don't have yet.
Damn it. Yeah, getting the big picture is going to be a little bit hard as per usual, but I mean, we got to work with what we've got. And it does say that some of these are not meant to be used in tandem, and a lot of them are, or maybe so this one's a little bit different, whereas previously all of them were meant to be used simultaneously.
Right. So like one of the things that was already brought up on the forums was with the case change, all clan mechs after 5 crit slots, the weapon doesn't matter anymore because they always come with case. So like a heavy Gauss rifle that on the Blood Asp, because that's one of the ones that I know you use. So it has that improved heavy Gauss rifle, which has 11 slots. So that's 22 points of damage, but it's a clan mech with case, so it doesn't really do that, right? You just stop counting at a certain point because of case. So if case changes though, then we have to reevaluate this rule But like as of right now, like the clan assault mechs continue to stay winning because they can tank those 10-point hits like nothing. Whereas like an Uller on the clan side, 10 points, if it's Gauss rifle, it's just losing the arm. So it's just a very different situation. But if they change case to be like half of your structure or some other, whatever they end up going with, well, now that Uller is going to have a different result than what we play tested because of a change in case that wasn't part of this.
Yeah, so it's a little grain of salty, but I think overall it's a pretty decent change. It makes it standardized, and as a clanner, I love it. So I'm never taking more than 10 damage from any explosions.
Right. But even like a Thunderhawk, like big assault mechs, like the Thunderhawk, one of its big weaknesses, or the Pillager, they have, Gauss rifles. But if you get a Gauss rifle hit in your side torso where you have an XL engine, it was really bad, right? And now, because of the explosion damage cap, going from 20 to 14 on an inner sphere Gauss rifle means that on something only like the 100-ton range, you can actually have that matter. But if you have case, it's 10 anyway, which again is why the case change and how that will or won't apply. But overall, I do want to say I'm very positive on this just because I don't have to look up what an AP Gauss rifle explosion does. That honestly is a huge deal because I can't tell you off the top of my head what the improved heavy Gauss rifle is versus the heavy Gauss rifle.
Yeah, there's entirely too many Gauss rifle variants. So
yeah, the mag
not
shot,
to mention hags and all that.
Yeah,
silver bullet.
Exactly, and they're all like within the same range. But now I don't need to look up a bespoke entry. I can just count the crit slots. And that's just a lot easier to remember. And for like the new player experience, it's a lot easier to look up that same rule multiple times because then that'll stick in your mind.
Yeah. And eventually you'll just remember the formula. Slots times 2. Done.
Yep, exactly. And that's so much easier to learn and to explain. Like if I'm trying not to crack a rule book to teach a new player, that's so much easier than to tell them a bespoke number. It's going to go in their ear, out the other. Like Gauss rifles are 20. It's like, okay. There's so many numbers being thrown out in the beginning of the game. But at least a formula, if they figure it out themselves, it's like homework. It's a lot easier to remember stuff that way.
Yeah. So that's change number 1. Good change. Winning.
Yep.
Coming out strong. Change number 2. Anti-missile systems can now engage up to 2 flights of missiles per turn, and all AMS types can reduce missile attacks to cluster size 0.
Yeah. We had a discussion about this off camera, which I thought was really good. For me, like, obviously it's a buff to AMS, right?
Oh, yeah. Straight up.
Yeah. Right. One of the things that I like about the rule, nothing about balance, is just that AMS and laser AMS work the same way now because they both can reduce the flight to 0. So it's just more standardization. The problem with that comes into costing because not getting to ammo yet, we'll get there in a second. The laser AMS is better than the normal AMS and it costs more because of that. Because it can reduce things down to 0, its average damage that it can delete from a missile attack was higher. So it cost more battle value. But now it doesn't have any advantage. It just generates a bunch of heat. So that just means that when we get to the battle value part, they're going to need to correctly put the points in for that, which
I mean, the laser also doesn't go boom or has no chance of going boom. So that's also worth paying a little bit more for.
So going to the ammo now, the problem with AMS in the past from like a balance, because I really dig into the battle value things for the stuff. So the ammo on AMS, the battle value for it was just copied from the old edition, right? The rules changed for it, but they just copied and pasted the battle value. So what that means is that ammo used to work very different for AMS. You would shoot down missiles, and then the number of missiles you shot down was how much ammo you used. So that meant that if you deleted 10 points of damage, let's say from a missile attack, right, you used that much ammo. So the ammo directly translated into armor. So the ammo had a cost as if it was basically extra armor. That's why when you look at the AMS system now, since they didn't update the battle value, the ammo costs are so high on AMS. And that's also why you see designs that have like 3 tons of ammo and 1 AMS. Because
you're never going to burn through that normally, or at least in the old rules.
Exactly. And all that ammo, you burn through it faster, but also the ammo directly translated into damage saved. That's not how it works now, but that's how we're paying for battle value now. Now it just you reduce the damage of the flight based on the cluster roll, and then you just mark off 1 ammo per turn.
Or
2 with
two
this
if it,
change.
yeah, if you do 2 flights, I'm assuming anyway.
Right. But like you come with 12 points per ton on inner sphere AMS, which you used to burn through before, but also, like I said, that was equivalent to armor in a direct way. Now it just means you have 12, right? 12 different missile flights. And so the ammo is very expensive, and like you can only use 1 per turn. So this lets you use more ammo more quickly, but it doesn't change the underlying issue, right? That the ammo needs to be priced correctly for the weapon. So they're just making AMS better, but kind of sidestepping the battle value component of it.
Yeah, we also talked about the disparity in effectiveness between larger launchers like an MRM-40 or an LRM-20 versus like an SRM-4 or a Streak 2 or whatever.
Yeah. If you get shot by, because there's some mechs that have a bunch of Streak 2s. If you get shot by a Streak 2 and AMS knocks down from 11 on the cluster table for a Streak for 2 missiles to 7, which is 1 missile. So you save 2 points of damage, but you knock off like 6 to 7 points of damage off an LRM-20, and you knock off like 12 to 14 off of an MRM-40. So if you only have 2 MRM-40s, well, now 1 AMS is going to really, like, you paid for all of that damage, and 1 AMS system is going to make it so that your double MRM-40 mech that's not cheap is losing just almost over half of its effectiveness because of 1 AMS.
Yeah.
Versus the SRM-2 doesn't do anything.
Yeah, the same is true for your Archer or your Catapult or any paired large LRM mech. It's not going to feel good firing into AMS.
Yeah.
The good news is...
Yeah, you can't overwhelm it because it has... 1 AMS generates 2 now, and you have 2 launchers on your Archer, your Timberwolf, your... Like, all of these iconic mechs have 2 big launchers. And 1 AMS just says, nope, sucks to be you.
Yeah, it's going to shut them down pretty effectively. But, I mean, there's only, 15 tons? Or, I'm sorry, 15 shots per ton?
24 on the clan side.
Oh, even better. No wonder.
So you're just not going to run out of ammo. And some of those clan mechs have 72 rounds of AMS ammo.
Jesus.
So, the ammo is still a problem on AMS.
Yeah,
for the inner sphere launchers, you can run them down, but that means that like 1 ton of AMS ammo shoots down 12 flights of LRM-20s. That's like really, really efficient. Meanwhile, like it shoots down 12 SRM-2s, which is, who cares?
Yeah, so it's got the Pharaoh Lamb problem where it's extremely good in a particular situation and then not nearly as good. It still does something in other situations.
Right.
It's part of this isn't really what I would consider rock, paper, scissors, but it's one of those, well, if there's a mech or vehicle or something on the field with AMS and you've got an LRM boat, you really shouldn't be shooting it at the AMS unit unless you literally have no other choice.
Yeah, it's just not going to feel good shooting your Archer into something that has like a random AMS.
And it's really not going to feel good when you hit and you roll cluster and then you're like, crap, I just did 0 damage.
Yeah. So, and those aren't like balance problems per se if the battle value is there, right? But the battle value isn't being adjusted right now. So for the next like 2 years, if this change happens, it's just going to be very swingy. Since battle value is so far away, it's just going to be very swingy where it's like you feel bad. Oh, I'm sorry, I have AMS. I'm going to have to delete your MRM-40 salvo.
And then the Vulture Mark IV runs up and shoots you with 4 Streak 6s, and you're like, what? You got AMS? Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because it has just so many individual launchers. So it's just a little too swingy for how this rule works. Obviously, it's better. It's just one of those things where the AMS is better, but that doesn't mean it's better for the game if the battle value and the ammo situation aren't matching up.
Yeah, it's one of those we'll fix it in post situations that I keep worrying about. I mean, I like it. It makes AMS more useful, and it means that the Flashman that dies to having 1 ton of AMS ammo on it probably, hopefully got at least some use out of it before it blew up.
If you shot it with missiles at all, ever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
that's one of the better changes, I think. I mean, it's good in the aspect that it's making something that's rarely useful more useful.
Yeah. But it's, in my opinion, it's addressing the ammo problem, but not in like a way that actually fixes the ammo problem. Since they changed the rule so that all those old designs with 3 tons of AMS ammo for one launcher, that's still not good, right? Like 72 shots, even if you get to use 2 per turn, that's still never going to be like worthwhile.
Yeah, the mech's going to die before you use all that AMS.
Before turn
it's like
36.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with machine gun ammo. Like, you're never going to run through all 200 rounds or 100 rounds with a half.
Right. It still sucks taking those old mechs that have 72 ammo because of how the AMS changed. But now it also sucks if you have just a random Intersphere AMS and you shoot down like their entire MRM-40 flight.
And then it also sucks if you bring AMS and they do nothing but shoot lasers and autocannons at you.
Yeah. So let's say they do price AMS for how effective it can be, right, in the future when they finally get to BV. But then, like you said, yeah, well, it's like I didn't shoot missiles at it. So now you paid a lot more battle value for this AMS system because of just how deadly effective it can be. Since it shot 2 big missile flights down, it added like a few hundred battle value to your mech that you don't get to see any value out of.
Yeah. Back when I played D&D with my buddies, we would have this thing where if the GM gave you immunity to fire or lightning or something, yeah, it's like, oh, great, you're immune to it. But guess what? It's never going to show up again. So the immunity is basically pointless. So taking the AMS, means that you're probably never going to get shot with missiles if they
made AMS so good that, then it's like, well, I'm not going to bother taking missiles against you because, yeah, exactly right.
Is there anything on the field that doesn't have AMS?
Yeah,
and
I'll shoot
if they say yes, it's like, okay, well, then the missiles are going there. Exactly.
All right.
Even if the target number is worse. I mean, you'd probably go for
because it's just
the non-AMS.
You make AMS too good, and it's bad for the health of the game overall. But yeah, moving on.
Yeah. Number 3, this one's kind of big, and it's a lot of small changes to stuff that really rarely comes up for the most part. So anti-penetrative ablative armor, or ABA armor, now negates all special effects of weapons and munitions with armor-piercing effects, such as the lance, which we'll get into later. Yeah, that's one of my favorite changes. Or armor-piercing autocannon ammo. And ABA armor negates all through armor critical checks, which is nice.
Yeah.
The alternate location is struck as normal, and the damage might cause a critical hit there on its own, but no tack roll is made. So you are immune to tacks, which is, if you hate them, find your ABA mech and run it, and you don't got to worry about it.
Yeah, this is overall, all of the armor changes I think are good. I think my problem is the changes that aren't here. But like, they did a really good job of saying, okay, all of these rock, paper, scissors armors really need to be more specialized. So then we'll skip over Ferrolam for now, because all it does is change the armor piercing.
It got a slight nerf. That's not nearly big enough, in my opinion.
It doesn't address the problem of Ferrolam, which is...
It just no longer negates armor-piercing ammo effects.
Right.
Which, whoop-de-doo. But, I mean, that might be
all the
important.
Armors, right. All the armors got that because they wanted to make anti-penetrative matter. So, like, that's not really a Ferrolam change. That's just all armors got that.
Yeah, it got thrown out with the bathwater. It didn't get the scrubbing it needed to.
Right. Heat dissipating armor.
Yeah, this one I like.
This is a great change.
You're literally immune to heat damage now. Just like battle armor. It works exactly like it does on battle armor. You still take damage from the plasma rifle, but you don't take the heat. All heat damage is reduced to 0. The only exception is liquid hot.
Yeah. Magma has special rules.
Yeah. If you fall into magma, you got other problem.
Yes. And there's bogging down. And right. So the thing with heat dissipating armor, just for those who don't know, is before you took half heat damage for taking it. The problem is that the way external heat sources work is that it's capped at 15. So taking half heat didn't actually mean you took half of your heat cap. So if I shoot a bunch of Infernos at you with heat dissipating armor, I could still get plus 15 heat on you. So the tonnage spent on heat dissipating armors and the battle value that it costs to get heat dissipating armor was completely useless compared to just a couple of heat sinks. Because the heat sinks actually, if you have more heat sinks, then that means that when you get to that 15 cap, those extra heat sinks lower that back down because you just have more room on your heat scale. And that was 0 battle value because unfortunately they don't price heat and heat capacity very well in the battle value formula. So the heat dissipating armor was just a strict negative because it cost you battle value, but it didn't change how much damage you actually took in the end. You might have needed a few more missiles to get to that cap of 15, but you still were going to get to that cap of 15, meaning the heat dissipating armor didn't really do anything to help. Now it does, and so it does what it says on the tin. That's exactly what it needed to do.
Yeah, and it was previously inconsistent with fire-resistant battle armor, which were just straight up immune to all fire or heat-based damage or effects. And now they pair up nicely. So now you can have a heat-dissipating mech with your salamanders, and they are literally immune to heat. All you have to do is watch out for lava.
Right. And heat weapons are not big enough in the game for this to be like this changes everything.
Yeah, I mean, heat is kind of a gimmick, and it's not a good one at that. I mean, a little bit here and there is nice to sprinkle in some Infernos on an SRM6 or a plasma rifle or maybe 1 or 2 plasma cannons on a mech. But I mean, that's pretty much it because of the heat cap.
And so now if you have a mech with heat dissipating armor, even if your opponent doesn't take heat weapons, it's not as completely terrible as it was before.
Yeah. And next up, impact resistant. Game rules delete the +1 modifier to hull breaches, as well as the entire second paragraph, which is applying a +1 to determine critical hit checks if the armor is struck by AP weapons. So it's just not as bad.
Right, yeah. Well, this was one of those, it's like the anti-melee armor, basically.
Yeah.
So melee is another one of those where, yes, it's a big part of the game since, even the 30-25 days, but the majority of damage that you take in like an average game is not melee damage, it's shooting damage. Just because there's so many more turns of shooting before you even get into melee. Like even the mechs that are dedicated to melee still have guns, right? So even though my charger does a bunch of damage on the charge, I still do, some small laser damage here and there. Impact resistant armor needed to get better. Just because it costs you resources to take impact resistant armor.
Yeah. And next up, we're getting a laser reflective nerf. It says delete. Additionally, heat causing effects from these weapons are halved, round down to a minimum heat 1. So it no longer reduces heat damage by half, which is good because laser reflective didn't need any more help.
Yeah. So this is one of those things too, where I don't consider it so much a laser reflective nerf. Obviously, laser reflect is a little bit worse, but you need to make these kinds of change to make the buff to heat dissipating matter, right? Since these are specialist armor, if you take the specialist armor, it needs to be the thing that does that effect. So the fact that laser reflective also counted as heat dissipating meant that like heat dissipating was even worse in comparison.
Yeah, why would you ever take heat dissipating when you could take laser reflect and get half heat dissipating?
Yeah, exactly. So just like the next armor, changing the armors so that if there's a specialty armor like anti-penetrative or heat dissipating, all the other armors can't do that effect. I like that as just a style change. So that's why when we get to reactive, you delete the section allowing the armor to negate all AP weapon effects.
Yeah,
they talk about tandem missiles, but that's just a mistake. Tandem missiles are just awful for the game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even bring them up here.
Well, the reactive armor is like, what do they call it? It's specifically designed to counteract the explosives.
Tandem. But that's in the real world. Like, I don't like throwing that bone. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'd really like to see tandem charge missiles be brought in line so that they're not, scum of the Battletech world. As of in their current state, they are just entirely too good. And because
they also slow the game down because of just how many rolls you have to make.
Yeah, you throw tandem charge SRMs into an SRM6, and that's up to 6 rolls additional every time you hit with them.
Right. And then
it's bad.
It doesn't play well on the table, and it also the effect is not balanced for how the game works. And so if they don't change tandem missiles, and that's a TAC Ops thing, so that's not going to be covered in this. That's why I was like, why put this here? You shouldn't be using tandem missiles in this playtest anyway. because they're just so outside the line of what's a normal game.
It should stay in TAC Ops with,
yes,
bombast lasers and
right. And even if they fix bombast lasers, that doesn't mean tandem belong,
I'd rather have bombast lasers in than tandem. That's for
exactly. Right. So like if they fix tandem, that should be in that playtest. And so I just hate seeing like reactive, but that's just bias against that one particular missile ammo. So reactive, it's a good change because it makes anti-penetrative better. So
so far I think all of these armor changes are good. I don't have any complaints. I just wish they went a little further on the Pharaoh Lamb. Maybe it'll get its just desserts when it comes to the battle value balancing. We'll see.
Yeah. My issue with the armor is not what's here. It's what's not here, which is fixes to Pharaoh Lamb and hardened armor.
What are you talking about? Hardened armor is perfectly balanced. How dare you?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Sure. Autocannon.
Leave my hammerhead alone. Next up is one of my favorite changes because talk about equipment that needs some love. Auto cannons as a whole. Every single type of autocannon is now given what the armored component basically quirk, or what is it? There's an actual piece of gear that does something similar.
I mean, armoring is kind of like this, where you negate one crit.
Yeah, it's a crit stop. It stops the first crit for any autocannon. Originally, when I read this, it said all, and I assumed it meant all of the standard autocannons. No, this includes UACs, this includes RACs. Every autocannon is affected by this, which is huge.
Yeah. Like from a meta like analysis here, when you look at all the weapons in the game, autocannons take up of the standard weapon types, autocannons take up the most crit slots. And in the battle value formula, the amount of crit slots something takes up is not part of it, right? Then that's just a feature of how battle value works. And so this kind of like is recognizing that, this autocannon that takes up 10 slots and is negated if you take a single crit to any of those 10 versus the same hunchback with 6 medium lasers where one crit to that hunchback, it's like, what's the worst thing you can do, right? You can either take out a heat sink or a medium laser, right? Because unlike the autocannon 20 in that torso where it's just any crit to the autocannon 20 and it's useless, in that same torso with the laser version, it's just it's almost like the crits don't even matter against them.
Yeah, please crit that torso.
Yeah, exactly. So this doesn't fix that problem, by the way, right? Like it's still going to suck when you get your autocannon 20 crit because you might have the laser version's still better than the autocannon, right? That's not changing, but this at least gives them some hope.
Yeah. It alleviates the golden BB from taking out half of your weaponry.
They need to roll at least 2 crits. So a 10 or higher in order to take out your autocannon 20 with that lucky shot. It reduces some of the BS factor of, I brought an autocannon 20 and of course you critted immediately.
Yeah. Or I brought my rack and now it's gone.
Yeah. So this is a good change just because of how crits work and how they're not compensated. But I do want to make clear that this does not fix the autocannon balance. It's just
a step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's a gimme that no one's going to complain and say, this is too good. How could you do this?
And if they do complain, like that's where that meta-analysis comes in, where it's like, no, when you look at what the crit effect is against all weapons in the game, with the exception of artillery, which don't even get me started on artillery, Gauss rifles, which are part of like the explosive component change, and autocannons are the 2 systems that take up the most crits. And in this playtest change, both get a bonus. The Gauss rifles, their explosive damage gets standardized and reduced, and autocannons, they ignore the first crit. So
which is huge.
Yeah, it's a big help.
And my second favorite change, which is my first one later, is rotary autocannons now ignore you cannot make weapon attacks clause. So you can make an unjam attempt. The mech still needs to either stand still or only use walking movement. And you still can't spot for indirect fire, but you can now unjam and shoot the rest of your weapons. Thank Lord Blake.
Yeah.
Man. And on top of that, they can now use caseless ammo as a special ammunition choice.
Which is just a nice
Yeah, that's great. So the caveat is that now if you use a rack with caseless and you roll snake eyes, it is unjammably jammed due to the caseless clause.
Yep. Plus, for those who don't know caseless very well, so it's bricked if you roll a snake eyes and you roll crits on the weapon. And the fun thing about rotaries is that when they jam, like on a 2, they become explosive because there's a round in the gun. And so if you roll a snake eyes on caseless, not only is your weapon bricked, but you're jammed because you rolled a 2, and you roll a crit on your weapon. So on an 8 or higher, you now crit yourself, causing an ammo explosion. But this is where that all change comes in, where you ignore the first crit. So fortunately, that means that caseless is not as much of a death sentence as it would have been without that, because you need to roll a 10 or higher on that crit roll for the caseless cascading failure on a snake eyes to also explode your autocannon.
Yeah, so
and it's only one round.
Yeah, it will be crit once and be useless on top of that, but it will not go boom immediately.
Yes. So I really like how those rules all play together.
You can get the gambling back if you really want it.
Yeah. Well, it just means that caseless is not as terrible of a choice because you're normally, like, without the autocannon crit change, the combination of specifically how rotaries become explosive when they jam and caseless bricking on a 2 and then rolling crits against the weapon, which is now explosive, that would have been really bad before, but now it's less bad. And I know we're not supposed to talk about vehicles, but like that also helps vehicles because vehicles just don't have the internal health to survive a 5-point rack exploding because you rolled a snake eyes. So now, assuming this crit thing works on vehicles too, it means that your vehicle's not going to explode. Like your vedette's not going to kill all hands because you rolled a 2 since you chose caseless because you ignore the first hit.
Or your rack 2 Scorpion or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not supposed to be about vehicles, but I love my rotary autocannon vehicles because they're just neat. So now you can reload caseless on them and not hate your life when your 5-point explosion on your vedette means that your 5 internal structure vedette now dies.
And on top of that, being able to take caseless means that there's quite a few rack 5 mechs out there that don't really have the ammo to go the distance. Mm-hmm. If you decide to take caseless, now you can just hold down the trigger with them for the most part.
Now, the thing I want to say is that this makes rotary autocannons better, and rotary autocannons are fun, but just because they might be fun on the table, they're not good weapons.
No, they're not. I'm taking 3 of them in my Southern Assault class.
Yeah. So the thing is that like you can unjam the weapon easier, but you still are paying for a gun that can jam, that you lose shooting, and you still have to roll to unjam it, which is super annoying if you don't make that roll, if you just roll bad and you're still jammed. Because, something like a fast Argus, right, that needs to be running to really use that cavalry speed, having to walk, it's like that still sucks, right? Like no other gun makes you do that. So rotaries get better, but they're still bad guns.
Yeah.
They're fun.
And just to note, if you do decide to use caseless, all of the ammo has to be caseless.
Yes.
There is no option to switch. It's all or nothing.
Yes. It's a gun swap.
And
then we'll talk about ammo problems in a second because that comes into the ultra autocannons.
Yeah, and this is a gimme here. Everyone has been asking for this as long as I can remember. Ultra autocannons no longer jam. Yeah. Praise Blake. Hallelujah. Yes. This is my 3rd favorite change.
Yeah. So I love the change from like a balance point of view because ultras jamming is one of those things you're not compensated for, right? There's no trade-off. It just sucks. Right.
Yeah, Ultras are still battle value.
Right. They're full price. You don't save any battle value for the weapon to being able to jam. So the fact that they can jam and you're not cheaper, you don't get a cool special rule. And most importantly, you don't get extra like fancy ammos either.
Yeah. So that's just the main drawback for ultra autocannons as a clan player. It's like, well, I can double tap and that's about it.
Right. So getting rid of the jam chance is a positive change because we're not talking about battle value, right? You could have fixed ultra autocannons in a lot of ways. This just brings them to the starting line because before this change, they were behind the starting line because they could jam, but they don't get anything for it. Now, the thing that I don't like about this is that ultra autocannons and rotaries have an ammo problem.
Yep.
And that's a battle value thing. And so we're not like the big issue I see with rotaries and ultras. Rotaries can jam still, and ultras and rotaries, they have to buy a lot of ammo. But in battle value, the way ammo works is if you take any gun that has ammo, right? And it's just a formula. If you buy 1 ton of ammo for that gun, then the weapon is less than an energy weapon of the same kind. If you buy 2 tons of ammo for that gun, then it's the same price as an energy weapon. And if you buy more than 2 tons of ammo for that gun, it's just more expensive than an energy weapon. So an ultra auto cannon 20 with the standard loadout, which is 4 tons for just 10 rounds, right? You only get 10 salvos with that. It costs 20% more than just a bunch of lasers.
Well, isn't it 5 per ton on a regular autocannon?
You get 5 per ton on an ultra, but
yeah, but if you're double tapping every turn, then yeah, you're right.
And the way the formula works for battle value, you're paying for it double tapping, right? So if you're not double tapping your ultra, your ammo goes longer, but it's just like paying for a 20 damage gun and only getting like 14 damage out of it,
or
right?
Firing an SRM2 and never rolling above
and never
7.
getting the second hit. Exactly. Right. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, right? It's like an SRM1, but you're paying for an SRM2. So the way that the ammo works, because like a rotary autocannon 5, right, has to have 3 tons of ammo to get 10 salvos. And caseless is a nice addition, but caseless comes with drawbacks. So it's not just a strict buff. But if you do have the like 10 salvos of Rack 5 ammo that you pay battle value for, the Rack 5 is just more expensive than a bunch of Clan ER medium lasers, which is rough because they're just better, right? Like they never explode. They never jam.
Yeah.
They have the same range. They're just as available in the Ill Clan.
And they do more
cheaper.
Damage.
Yeah. Same damage for the battle
more,
value.
It's 7.
Same range. Right. And they're cheaper in battle value because the rotary autocannon took 3 tons of ammo. So the rotary and the ultra fix, they might address ammo in the future, but that's why it's like, well, but for the next 2 years, my feedback is going to be, hey, it's great that you made them better, but the underlying flaw is still there. So it's like, it's better, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still happy that it's better.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain.
Right. Yeah. It's better, but like the laser mech
but
is still running laps around it. Right. Yeah. You're still taking ultra autocannons because they're funny. You're still taking rotaries because they're funny. You're not taking them because they're just as good as any other gun. Because they're not.
It just happens to be on the mech and you like the rest of the loadout. And
exactly.
It's got an Ultra 5, I guess.
Right, yeah. The Ultra 5 is still a terrible gun, right? And if there's ways to fix it, but that, like with battle value, but we're not, there's no battle value fix.
Yeah, we can only,
Right. So the Ultra Autocannon 5 is still like a bad gun. It doesn't do anything fancy like any other autocannon. And its laser equivalents, like a bunch of light PPCs, which have a similar range, are just cheaper. Unless you, like, in an Ultra Autocannon 5 versus light PPCs, I'd rather the 2 light PPC.
Yeah, at that point, why even bother with the ammo and the chance to explode?
Yeah, exactly. And so they got rid of the jam chance, but that doesn't mean I'm happy. Like the Sentinel that has a main gun Ultra AC5. I don't want that Sentinel.
No, you want the one with the Gauss rifle.
Or the light AC5. The light AC5 Sentinel, that one kicks ass, right? Because the light AC5 has alternate ammo and it's super good.
Yeah, precision and now the new armor piercing, which we'll get into later.
Exactly. So yeah.
All right. Well,
but yeah,
that's enough.
That's my rant on ammo.
Yeah. We love the autocannon changes. We just want to see more.
Yeah, we need to see the battle value to fully see that, right?
Yeah.
It's great that they made these changes, but like the rack, and they might do it, right? But that's 2 years away.
Yeah, at this point, there's no telling how long it's going to take. So the next one, and this one's pretty controversial. This has probably gotten the most chatter on the Discords and the forums, is the C3 changes. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. Essentially, the way it works is every unit in a C3 network now is multiplied by 1.3 for its battle value, period. Doesn't matter how many units are in the network. It's just a flat 1.3 for every unit, which really sucks for smaller unit numbers like 2 and 3. But once you get to 4, I think 4, it evens out 4 or 5. I don't.
And the other thing I just want to touch on is ECM is not as good against C3, but I don't want to talk about that in the C3 section because that's an ECM thing, and that's coming up next.
Well, I think we do have to talk about it in the C3 section because it does affect the effectiveness of C3.
Right. But even though it affects
there's other
the effectiveness,
in the ECM.
the thing, yes, the C3, the ECM change about its range is the bigger deal than the C3 part of it, if that makes sense.
Part of it is still pretty significant for.
So to be clear, the ECM thing, if you're in ECM now, you get half the bonuses for C3, right? Instead of no bonuses, you get half bonuses.
Yeah, with the changes, you are now halved on your range
if you're getting,
reduction.
If you're getting from long range to short, right, that's a 4 bonus. So now if you're in ECM, it's a 2 bonus.
Or if you're shooting from medium to short, it's now a 1 bonus instead of a 2.
Right. Regardless of what they make ECM do, that doesn't fix the issue where the issue is really just the battle value, right? So even if ECM did nothing, right? Let's say ECM doesn't interact with C3 at all. C3 is still too expensive. I guess that's what I was trying to get at with the ECM change.
Yeah. And I was just, C3 is still binary. It's either jammed by ECM or it's not jammed by ECM. And the only difference
have multiple ECM, they don't
is now it's either 100% effectiveness to 0% to now 100% or 50%, which is a significant buff to C3. But I think the 1 point cost is just a little too egregious. We were talking about it last night, and I think we kind of,
what does C3 actually do, right? All it does is it gives you a bonus to your accuracy. There's conditions on how you get it, but you're buying C3 to see your numbers get easier to hit. And so there's a floor to it, right? Because if you're already in short range, it doesn't do anything. And if you're in long range and you have a spotter, that's the best possible situation where it goes from 4 to 0. So if you're trying to evaluate what you should be paying, right, you need to figure out what bonus are you actually getting across your force. And so that's where Jesty and I came up. We talked about like different scenarios, and we both agreed you're getting less bonus to hit across the lifetime of the C3 network than 2 on average.
Yeah, a skill increase of 2.
A skill increase of 2, right. So C3 needs to be cheaper than upskilling by 2 your units.
Yeah, your gunnery specifically.
And so if you have 4 units, right, if you buy C3, that's a 30% increase, and it's situational, and it's not as good as just 2 gunnery increases, and it's really not as good as, let's say, a pulse laser. So a pulse laser gives you a 2 accuracy bonus all the time, and it costs a lot less than the C3 network. So that's kind of where we're at, where it's like at 30%, you can take 3 mechs in a C3 network, or you can take 4 mechs. And 4 mechs just beats 3 mechs in a C3 network because one of the mechs in the C3 network has to be the one that's up close. And that one is already up close. They're not getting any bonus to hit, right? So right off the bat, at 30% more battle value for C3, you're down a mech. And then one of your mechs can't get a bonus because of how C3 is worded. So now that's another mech that's not getting any bonus that you paid for.
And you're paying left 30% more for that unit to do nothing.
Right.
It's not doing nothing, I should say, but it's not nearly as effective as the rest of the 30% that you're paying for.
It's not gaining a benefit from the accuracy that it paid for because one unit in your group of C3 has to be up close for the others to gain a bonus. So that means that you're really only getting this bonus on 2 units, but you're outnumbered. So they're shooting you with 50% more stuff right off the bat from your 2 units with the bonus versus their 3 units extra versus, what you could have had because your spotter is just up front and getting pounded on because they're in short range.
Yeah. And you have to have line of sight now. Again, they got rid of the no line of sight necessary to the target.
So you can't just hide your little spotter behind a hill and gain that bonus. Your spotter has to be able to get shot at in order for you to get that bonus, meaning like once you lose that spotter, right? So now it's a 2 to 4 advantage. And you're getting no bonus until you send one of your remaining 2 mechs up into the fray. And that means that one's getting shot at short range so that the other one can get the bonus accuracy. So
yeah, and then one of your opponent's 4-mechs happens to have ECM, they get within ECM
then
range
you
of
get
the
half
spotter,
the bonus.
and now now you're even worse off.
Yeah. So you're just not seeing like 2 points of accuracy. There was a long way to say you're not seeing a 2-point accuracy bonus across the whole game. But
this is best case scenario,
because
after 3 or 4 turns, more than likely they're either focusing down the spotter and then there goes your network, or closing in to short range with your backline, which then there goes the network's use anyway.
Yes, right. Yeah, because if they're all in short range, then you're not getting any bonus accuracy. So it's just ECM needs to be priced pretty aggressively for it to work. Because even in the best case scenario, right, if there's no jamming and whatnot, you're still trading units. You know what I mean? There's still attrition to be involved, and you're down a mech because of the cost. So, they don't want us to tell them what the battle value should be. Like, we could come up with what we think it should be. The feedback, I think, is just, that's too high, right? Try again.
And if 2Kid were balanced by BV, the Clanners would have definitely won if they were all linked up in C3.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely one of those things where, and I see a lot of people talking about, oh, well, in the past, that meant you were 6 and but none of that actually matters, because when you look at what actually is happening, it's just an accuracy bonus, right? It doesn't matter if 12 units get the accuracy bonus or if 2 units get the accuracy bonus. You have to evaluate what this is costing you based on what your actual accuracy bonus you're getting is. And so, it's nice that you don't have to do math for 11 in your network versus 7, right? It's all just the same number. That's nice, but it doesn't matter because the bonus you're actually receiving isn't matching up with the cost. Scaling the number of units you have just means that the enemy has even more units, right? If you have 12 units in the C3 network, it doesn't mean you're up against 12 enemies, right? You're up against 15 or 16 enemies.
At least, if not more, with how expensive it is. It's another 30% of whatever you have.
So, So that's the thing. It's too expensive as is. And we can look at Alpha Strike. Alpha Strike C3 is only 5%. And C3, as long as you make use of the network, it's overcosted if you're not in a network. So Jesty and I had that conversation where it's what if we just price it? It's always on. But then Jesty was like, well, what about the times where it's not on? You don't have to have a C3 network. So if you have a mech with a C3 slave, in Alpha Strike, you're paying for the C3, right? You're not allowed to not have it.
It would behoove you to utilize the C3 network in Alpha Strike because you're already paying for it. It's not going to cost you anything extra.
Yeah. A mech with a C3 slave randomly, like the Black Watch. It's oh, well, I just took the Black Watch because I think it's fun. It's well, where's your master? It's oh, I'm not running a C3 list. It's well, you paid for C3. So it sucks that your Black Watch now is just worse than everything else. So I agree with him after he brought that up, that you can't just bake it into the base cost, because then you have issues like you do in Alpha Strike.
Yeah, because the idea was to only modify the offensive value of the battle value portion of the mech. But I mean, at that point, you just have to have 2 different values for every skill level for every C3 mech.
Yeah.
And that's kind of tedious.
Yeah. It's solvable by battle value, but not the battle value we have today.
Yeah. It's going to take some finagling. Who knows? I mean, 1.3 seems like a lot right now. Maybe it's not going to be so bad once it's all said and done. Maybe they'll get a BV discount for having the slave.
Right.
And, who knows? Because it takes up tonnage. We don't know.
Yeah. But right now, as of right now, it's just too much battle value. And that's the feedback that they're asking for. That's the feedback that I think, I don't think anybody who actually plays with it is going to come up to a different number unless they're doing a narrative where it's a company in a C3 formation versus a small number of enemy units. You know what I mean? You can come up with scenarios, don't get me wrong, where 1.3 times multiplier is going to work out, but you're already talking about a game that's well outside the scope of the playtest rules.
Yeah, random pickup game is not 12 on 12. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's not
with
going to be
6 map sheets and
that's not going to be resolved in an afternoon, let alone a match in an event or tournament.
Right. There's so much variance from the standard game to the company-sized game to really see, oh, it's not so bad this 1.3 multiplier. It used to be 1.6. Look how good it is. Like, that's not a real game.
Yeah, no, a real game is really Lance on Lance, or Lance on Lance plus on Star, et cetera, et cetera.
Like the reinforced Lance is like 2 mechs and a couple conventional units, or like 5 clan units, like 3 mechs and a couple
a demi company or whatever.
Yeah, demi company of 6 units. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so for now, until we see what the battle value comes out to, this is just not good at 1.3.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we forgot to mention boosted multipliers up to 1.5.
Even more expensive, yeah. And
just
this
so that
is
you
where
don't
that
get
ECM changed, because the only thing boosted does is make you resistant to ECM. This is kind of like
standard ECM, not Angel.
Yeah, not Angel. But this is kind of like saying they feel that the ECM effect is worth 0.5 of a multiplier. Does that make sense, right? Like,
yeah, I see what. Yeah, no, that's exactly what they think.
Yeah,
which means they think it's worth almost an extra 40% of a mech, because if it's blocking out like half of it.
If you have a 6,000 battle value Lance, right, and you're going to make use of boosted battle value, that means you only have 4,400 worth, which with a 1.3 multiplier. So that means that ECM is, they're saying the ECM is worth over 200 battle value in a 6,000 point small game, right? That's kind of what they're saying with that pricing. And ECM is only 61 battle value, right? And it's worse. I don't believe ECM is worth 200 plus battle value, which is what a 1.3 multiplier is versus a 1.35, right? That's a 220 point battle value difference for the exact same set of mechs. So yeah, that's like, clearly ECM is not worth that much. It's only worth 61, I think.
Yeah, and the C3 boosted is way overcompensating for it. It's just not worth the investment at that point.
Yeah, you're paying 200 something battle value to negate a 61 battle value item. That's not good math, right? Like, it's just how that works.
Yeah, and it's to retain full functionality versus 50% functionality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not even fully negating it. You're right. Yeah. Because you still, even if you are jammed, you get half of your bonus.
Yeah. Oh no. I go down to sniper instead.
Yeah, exactly. You should never pay 200 something battle value to negate half of the effect of a 60 point battle value item.
Yeah, that's just even more ridiculous.
Yeah. Right.
So moving on to ECM.
Yeah.
So the reason I don't like these changes is because it's ECM period, which means all of these apply to Angel, which I don't like. I think Angel needs to be a cut above, just to how rare it is, and the fact that I think it applies the experimental title to certain mechs just for existing on them.
This is where the not having all of the rules hurts, because
definitely.
We don't know. Maybe Angel's going to be different, but that's not what we're testing right now.
Yeah, as of right now, it's getting nerfed alongside with Guardian. And ECM never nullifies a component unless the firing unit, target unit, or opposing component, like a narc pod or a unit with Artemis, is directly in the ECM's radius. So the bubble no longer does its thing. If your line of fire is crossing the bubble, the unit has to be in the bubble, unless specified otherwise, which I haven't seen any specifications saying otherwise
not yet.
Yeah, not yet anyway. And merely drawing LOS through an ECM has no effect. So that's the full one.
So the thing with ECM, now I do want to say, I think ECM, when it works, it is worth the battle value, but it's about use case, right? So in the past, you just had to have it somewhere on the field, and almost all Artemis missiles were negated. Because if they were shooting at you, well, obviously you have ECM, it would shut off the Artemis. If you were shooting at somebody behind you, right, because the bubble was so big, or if you were shooting at somebody in front of you, because your ECM is 6 hexes, as long as they're within 6 hexes of you, they were still getting no Artemis. Artemis is a 20% multiplier, right? So it's a 20% multiplier for about a 30% damage increase. So the fact that ECM was cutting it to 0 meant that you were definitely getting too much value out of ECM if your opponent brought Artemis. Or put another way, Artemis really sucked.
Yeah, it's one of those opportunity costs where if you bring ECM, it may do nothing, or it may save you 20% additional damage on Artemis carrying weapons.
Yeah, 30% damage. Because
I'm sorry, 30%. It'll cancel out 20% of battle value.
Yes. So the thing is, though, is that, like, It just meant that Artemis, like, you just wouldn't want to take Artemis, right? Because on my Nova Cat, right, it doesn't have Artemis, and I was perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care
most
if
of
you
the
have
time I wasn't
ECM.
getting the Artemis bonus.
What's the difference?
Even if it had Artemis, I probably wouldn't get it because just a random ECM somewhere on the table.
Yeah, and there's enough incidental ECM out there for it to happen by happenstance. You don't have to plan for it. Chances are you end up with an ECM on something in your list. I have made lists with no ECM, so there's a chance you might not, but generally speaking, it's pretty easy to come by if you really want.
So this is where they nerfed ECM, but the main benefit is to Artemis. So kind of like how like C3 got a half effect. Now Artemis is not, like, ECM isn't doing anything to Artemis unless you literally throw an ECM unit into like base range, which means you're now in short range of the enemy. So it's just really hard to use ECM now. You gotta.
The only good thing is you can still hide the unit. You just have to exist within those hexes.
Right. You don't need line of sight. But the ECM coverage to keep your unit safe from enemy missile strikes isn't a thing. That doesn't work.
Yeah, you can't bring a pet ECM with your longbow or archer to protect you from
to keep
Artemis.
Nearby. Yes. So because of that, again, it's like a battle value thing, right? Like, so ECM does cost, and on a fast unit, it costs more just because speed is a multiplier. So it's probably costed correctly now. It's just that we're so used to how ECM worked that now it's just not going to apply to so many situations.
Yeah, especially with the new narc buff that we'll get into in a little bit. That one, you're really going to feel that one.
But also ATMs. ATMs got a buff. The change to cluster size is a bigger deal. More things can get Artemis when we get to missiles. So Artemis is back on the table in a big way, which is probably fine. It's just that ECM is not like I liked having an ECM in my list before, an incidental ECM in my list. I don't know, like a lot of that incidental ECMs, I don't really want in my list anymore. Because all of that pocket defensive ECM that I would take in the past, like I had ECM on a tank, right? Like I think one of my clan assault tanks had an ECM. And it was nice because like I had a couple clan assault tanks in the backfield, all under the ECM bubble to keep them a little safer from missiles. Well, now I'm paying for that ECM, but that slow assault tank is never getting anywhere near the enemy. So I'm just paying for an ECM that does nothing.
Yeah,
on that
the ECM
tank.
on assault mechs is definitely not helping.
Right.
I mean, it would help against a C3 spotter trying to get into short range, but even then now it's only half as effective.
Yes. And so like, you know, they have to bring their Artemis carrying unit into my ECM bubble because let's just say, you know, there's half of the ECM is on slower units, half of them is on faster units. And that's going to be a true statement. I don't know what the speed number is, but like somewhere there's a cutoff. Well, on the slower side of things, you're paying for ECM, but it's a lot harder to get benefit out of it because you're slower. So you're able to get shelled from long range with Artemis and things that you normally would be taking the ECM for.
Yeah, you're still immune to narc, which is nice.
Well, you're not. Yes, you're immune to narc, but they have to get close for that anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were already kind of immune to narc before.
But Artemis, ATMs, and C3, it's a lot harder to cut off with your slow ECM, but you're still paying full value for slow ECM. ECM now feels to me like an offensive piece of kit, not a defensive piece. I was just going to say,
you're going to want your ECM on a knife fighting brawler, something like a Wolverine or something that you can get up in the mix and within 6 X's and not worry about it getting instantly splatted, and also not too much of a threat to get immediately focused down.
Right. Like ECM should be moved from a defensive component to an offensive component if we're talking like battle value behind the scenes stuff, because ECM on a dasher is now much more effective than ECM on the awesome, because there's some awesomes that have ECM.
I mean,
but now I'm not getting any benefits.
It does still provide a defensive bonus, but it's more useful in an offensively positioned manner.
Because the defensive bonus is if they bring their narc to you, right? But you already have ECM, so they're not going to do that. It's kind of like you said before, where it's like,
you're really
you have
immune.
ECM? Right, yeah, you have ECM. Well, I'm just not going to narc you, right? Like, why would I?
Yeah, why would I waste the narc shot?
Why would I do that? Same thing with my MRM40. I'm just not going to shoot the guy with AMS because that's just really bad idea.
I mean, it does mean AMS is looking better and better on that assault mech you have in the back.
Yeah,
because it's going to
if you're
still
trying to
work.
shut down Artemis, AMS is now like the only thing you can do defensively to cut down some of those missiles, because that defensive ECM isn't going to work.
Yeah, there's a unit with the risk APDS or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
that's what you
that
want.
can
You want
cover
to park that.
allies.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, like, I think that change is technically positive, right? I just think that ECM is not currently costed for it to be an offensive item, right? There's a lot of, just like what you were saying, ancillary or just like incidental ECM on units. And those are just worse now, because you really need a unit that's dedicated to be a jammer to like get good value out of ECM. Now that you have to run up into somebody's face to jam them.
Yeah, it's like claws or talons or a sword on a sniper mech. He's like, well, that's great,
exactly.
but it's probably never going to get used.
Yeah, you're paying battle value for that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, paying battle value for a sword on your sniper or is going to be like paying battle value for ECM on your sniper.
I must say, though, this does circle back to the forward impetus behind the units that you were talking about previously. This does incentivize moving your units up, getting into short range, and also it's more of an offensive playstyle. There's less defense to be had by just sitting in the back, which means things will die faster, and you'll have to close the gap in order to utilize it and all that. So I think it falls in line with the overall direction of making the game smoother and faster.
Right. But if you are, if you're still in the turret tech mindset, this is another change.
This is a kick in the ass.
That's gonna, this is yet another change where the game is moving away from turret tech.
Thank
rules.
God. And
gyro heavy duty.
Yeah, this one is just straight up nice. For each heavy duty gyro critical slot that has been destroyed, apply a +1 modifier to all piloting skill rolls, but unlike damage to other gyro types, no PSR is forced solely as a result of gyro hits. One or more critical hits to a heavy duty gyro forces the mech to make a PSR when it jumps, but does not force a PSR if the mech runs. When the 4th heavy duty gyro critical slot is destroyed, the gyro is destroyed with the usual effects. I can't even think of a heavy duty gyro mech off the top of my head, but I love this change.
Yeah, I just looked at one the other day in preparation for this, and it's like a thug or something. It makes sense.
Jesus,
it was Archangel.
Like the thugs need any more help. God,
no, not an Archangel. It was one of the Word of Blake, the Grigori. Like a lot of the Word of Blake ones are kind of tanky. They have a bunch of the random tanky stuff.
Gotcha.
It was like a 70-ton Grigori, I want to say. Light engine and heavy-duty gyro. Or one of the other Celestials. They do kind of blend together. So the reason why this change needed to be made, like there's other gyro equipment that ton for ton, battle value for battle value was better than the old heavy duty gyro, right? So the heavy duty gyro was just the worst option for the same cost. So now it at least is not just straight up worse than something else. You shouldn't, just like the armors, you shouldn't have armors that just have another armor do everything they do, but better. So in that case, it was the armored compact gyro. So now the heavy-duty gyro actually does something other than just an armored gyro. So
I'm trying to find a filter in Mech Factory to filter out by gyro, and I don't see the options. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, there's only a few heavy-duty gyros, that's for sure. But they did pay for it. You know what I mean? Gyro is a cost, and they also paid the tonnage for it. So now it actually does something versus an almost identical but better gyro type. So this is just straight up positive.
Yeah, no complaints out of me. This is one of those, I don't see why not. It's only good changes. Okay, so moving on to missiles. This one's a little chunky. I mean, it's not a big section, but this one's pretty decent. So ATMs change their cluster size from 5 to 6. So that means if you hit with 2 HE missiles, you're now doing 6 damage in one location, et cetera, et cetera.
So a lot of people look at this from a like lore-ish kind of, it makes dividing them better, that's a fine way to look at it. But I actually don't care about that, right? The thing that I care about is the actual gameplay ramifications. And while more clusters is good, because let's say you did 12 damage, right? So in the past, it was a 5, and a 2. if you did 12 damage with your 4 HE missiles. And so 3 clusters, that's 3 chances for headshots and crits. But now you do 2 6 points. And 6 points is a special breakpoint against mechs because 2 6 points hits hit the head. Like when you look at all of the damage, how to kill a mech simulations you can do, 5 damage is one of the worst damage types. Like the smaller damage chunks you do until you get to like 1 or 2 damage, like 3, 4, 5 damage, you need a lot of head hits to get a kill, but you're not like super crit seeking either, like you would with a 1 or 2 damage gun. So changing from 5 to a 6 means that your time to kill on almost everything goes down. So tactical missiles are stronger because of this cluster size bonus. Now, I don't know if that matters to some people. ATMs are priced a little incorrectly to begin with. So this cluster size does make them deadlier because they roll big damage with those HEs. And now it takes 2 hits to kill you with a headshot instead of 3. So you will see ATMs head cap more often.
And also they're going to be far more effective against elementals because now you only need to hit the same trooper twice with the cluster.
Yeah. 6 damage is like when you look at the damage clustering, right? 6 damage is such a big
it's a solid breakpoint. Yeah.
Because of just how many breakpoints across the game that hits. So, and there are specific examples where 6 is worse than some other cluster sizes. Like if you have extra head armor, like on a super heavy,
you know, or on a hardened armor mech.
Yeah, hardened armor mech. Right. So, because in that case, 2 hits isn't going to headshot that unit.
Yeah, but so 2 hits was never going to headshot that unit anyway.
Right, exactly. So now, like the 5 damage cluster would have technically been better because that's 3 chances to hit the head instead of 2.
Yeah, exactly.
There's way more normal situations where 2 6 points hits like goes internal. Like if you have 10 armor, right? 10 armor is a pretty common. Most people had designed their mechs to stop damage in like 5-point clusters.
Yeah, due to the inner sphere medium laser. 5 was the optimal breakpoint defensively. So if you can get to 6 offensively, you break all of those defensive breakpoints.
Right. So like the things with 15 leg armor. Well, so now 3 hits from an ATM go internal, and it's a lot easier to get 3 hits than to get 4 hits with 5-point clusters, just because of how, like, so your damage didn't change, right? Like, to be clear, your average damage isn't changing. What's changing is just the odds of you rolling a couple good cluster hits in the same location. Like a locust can take 10 to the center torso. So, you know, if you roll 2 locations, so now you're getting crits on a locust that you weren't getting before. And so the odds of that go way up because of the cluster size of 6. So that's just, I don't know if a lot of people are going to talk about the cluster size. So that's just what I wanted to bring up.
It's worse for fishing, but better for just outright killing.
Yeah. And because the fishing versus outright killing from larger cluster size, it's only 1 extra cluster you would get for fishing.
Yeah. At any given point. It's only 1 fish attempt.
Right. Because like, even if you hit with a big ATM for like 36 damage, well, it's 6 clusters now. And then it would have been, 8 clusters before? So that's ATM 12 hitting with all 12 3 damage missiles. So like best case scenario, you lose 2 cluster rolls. You're 50% better at head capping.
Yeah. One of those cluster rolls is a 1. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it is a buff against almost all units just because of how
it's better against Pharaoh Lamb.
Yeah, against Pharaoh Lamb, it's worse, right?
Well, it's about the same actually. Now that you mention it,
because it's worse because you do more 6-point clusters. 6 goes to 4. The 5 would go to 4, but then you would have more of them.
The 6 would go to 4 anyway because that 1 point gets negated.
Yes, but the ATMs usually deal more than 2 missiles.
Yeah. But I mean, in that specific
in the 2
instance,
missiles, it's the same. In 3 missiles, like it's worse. So yeah, it's not. There are some exceptions where cluster size 6 is worse. Usually, it's
Pharaoh Lamb
anything
with
winning. Pharaoh Lamb or hardened armor, anything that has a weirder breakpoint, like the anti-missile armor, like reactive armor,
Yeah, the
because you deal half
ADA or
damage.
ablative or
Right.
reactive. Yeah, that
5,
one.
right. Half of 5 versus half of 6, depending on rounding.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I don't know if people are gonna, you'd have to play a ton of games to notice how deadly cluster 6 is versus cluster 5, because you're talking about a game of small numbers, right?
How often are you going to double tap ahead with a
right,
6 damage
exactly.
weapon? Not very
Yes.
often, but when it happens,
Right.
you're going to remember it.
Yes. And so that's the thing where it's like, if 10 of us all played a game, the cluster size isn't going to come up for all 10 of those games, but it is better overall. So, I just wanted to, that's my big soapbox on cluster size.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's neither, it's not a buff. It's still the same amount of damage. It's just, it breaks different thresholds.
Yeah. It's a higher quality of damage against most targets.
Yeah.
The metagame is still a metagame, like you said, with Feral Lamb and stuff, but.
Yeah. Okay. That's enough for ATMs, which are nice, but they don't need that much time. Next up is extended range LRMs, which are getting deleted from the Battletech manual game rules entry entirely.
Yep. So it's just straight rules, which is, for reminder, it's 10 minimum, 12, up to 28 or whatever.
Yeah, and these are just removed from the Battletech manual. They're not going to be standard equipment. That's my take on this anyway.
But no, it's just they had rules about they dealt half damage in minimum range, and they couldn't do this, they couldn't do this. Yeah. Okay, so now it's just a stat stick.
Yeah, and now they can use Artemis 4, which,
yes.
Yeah,
if because there was a special rule that they couldn't, so now they can.
Yeah, if there was ever a mech made that had extended range LRMs that had Artemis 4.
There's a few. There's a Griffin that has it. Like, they do exist.
But then why did they give them Artemis 4 if they couldn't use it?
Well, there's no, I see what you're saying. There's no mechs currently that have
Artemis
yeah,
okay, that's what I was saying. Like, right. I mean, so they opened the path for new mechs to now have Artemis 4.
Yes. So that's the thing with the extended range. Like, they had rules but they're too niche, and like the only thing you actually cared about was the range. So why is there all these words?
Yeah, if they're within 10 hexes, I'm not shooting at them with these.
Right. Exactly.
That's all there is to it. Yeah.
Right. They already have a minimum range that already explains, how you're supposed to use them, aka not within 10 hexes.
Yeah, you sit on the back of the map and pray nothing gets closer to you.
Right. So how many words do you need to explain it has a 30 range, 38 or something silly.
So that's extended range LRMs, not a big game changer, but they changed slightly. And then now for one of the controversial ones, the MRMs eliminate the +1 target number penalty, but apply a -1 cluster hits table penalty. This is basically baking in Apollo fire control system to them. It says, note that if this change is accepted, Apollo fire control systems would then have to be reworked, which I think is good. Rework it, please. MRMs need some love. And they just say, don't test mechs with Apollo for now. Or if you do, the Apollo doesn't work.
Yeah. So this rule is missing stuff, in my opinion.
It needs Apollo. I mean, why would you rework them and not rework Apollo at the same time?
And also battle value, because the +1 to hit came with like battle value connotations. And so we're missing the battle value side of it as well.
Yeah. Are they going to be more expensive now? I mean, before they were not that expensive because they weren't that good.
Because they're bad guns, right?
Yeah. They have it's like armor piercing ammo. Why would you take it? It's got a penalty to hit. Now without that penalty, I mean, you take a hit on the cluster table, a big whoop. It's only -1. That's not a big deal.
Yeah. So you're dealing a little bit less damage. I think an MRM40 is dealing like 3 to 4 less damage. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's like 3 to 4 less damage, right? Across, because sometimes it's not going to be any less damage. Sometimes it's going to be, if you roll exactly the breakpoint, like the 5, the 9, the 11, right? If you roll exactly an 11, before that was 40 damage, and now it's 32. So you lost 8 damage with the cluster change if you rolled exactly an 11. But if you roll 12, it's no change. So that's why it's like, sometimes this isn't going to make you notice anything, and sometimes you are going to lose out a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, why not just delete Apollo and rename everything that had Apollo Artemis 4? And just call it
yeah. So with that, if you're just taking an MRM mech now, right, since it doesn't have the penalty to hit, the feedback is, MRMs are better, right? Like, of course.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it's slightly less average damage on it,
yes.
but I mean, now you're hitting on it more consistently. I'll take that.
Exactly.
Any day.
Right. And so the thing is, though, is that like, oh yeah, I ran a catapult K5 or whatever, the one with all the MRMs, and it was great now, and I really liked it. It's like, oh, okay, great. We love that feedback. And then 2 years later, battle value comes and, oh, everybody liked this change. So now let's price them as if they didn't have that +1 penalty. And now all of a sudden it's like, wait, my catapult went up 300 battle value. What happened? Like, why is it so expensive? Well, it's because you
went
liked
up a targeting computer's amount of battle value, basically.
Yeah. And it's like, oh no, I didn't vote for that. I didn't vote for my catapult to go up 300 battle value. So that's the problem.
I wanted it to be good and cheap, not good and appropriately priced.
Yes. So that's kind of where I'm at with the MRMs, where it's like, yeah, they're better in the feedback, right? But like, I'm missing the rest of the evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, what could they do with Apollo that's literally not just Artemis 4? I mean,
yeah, just bonus to your cluster table. I mean, you could have an extra -1 to hit and an extra cluster. It's now they're pulse missiles.
I mean, that's basically Artemis 5 with extra steps.
Exactly. Yes.
I mean, it's without the bonus. It's Artemis 5 with the penalty instead of a bonus. I mean, is that really what you want?
But also, and the battle value that costs is also important.
Yeah. I mean, because now you're doing less damage overall. You might have the pulse effect, but now you're significantly doing less damage.
With the cluster penalty being different. I can't, like,
now you're always
obviously
doing
the
less
weapon
with
is
the two,
better
for sure.
But I can't say it's better for the game because I'm missing information, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like that's the thing about these playtests I'm scared of.
So yes, I'm glad the MRMs don't suck, but let's see where they end up.
Exactly.
On the cost effectiveness table.
Yeah. Hey, now they don't suck, but now they cost as much as a weapon without, the cluster.
The -1 to cluster. Yeah.
Right. And it's like,
but
I take a -1 to cluster. Shouldn't I be cheaper? It's like, no, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's like
an
I hate
MRM20
MRM still
should be cheaper than an LRM20 for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. And I can assume that they're going to be not that expensive, right? But, if I don't have that information, it's hard for me to evaluate it fairly because it's like, the catapult with the MRMs is now super good, right? Because it's undercosted.
I really hope they just don't make Apollo undo the change and bring him back to crappy old MRMs.
Yeah.
With the target penalty and no cluster penalty. If hags cost half as much, everybody like, oh, these are great. These love hags. Yeah,
that's my feedback. Oh, yeah. We've made hags do double damage. Oh, that's a lot more damage. I love this. It's like, but then they cost 5 times as much. It's like,
yeah. Whoa. That's not what I signed up for.
Yeah, that's not what I signed up for. Yeah, that's the only thing I'm afraid of.
So yeah, MRM change, good, potentially.
Good.
It's a good change. It makes the weapon better.
Yes.
Straight up.
Yes.
So
and then we'll have to wait and see what actually happens with the weapon.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, all these battle values are subject to change for everything.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem where it's like, if I put a bunch of MRMs on the table to try out the MRM change, I'm just getting undercost missiles currently.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into that later. So next up is NARC/INARC missile beacons. So the long and short of it is they now apply a -1 target number modifier and add +2 to cluster, which was always the case. And now, so I'll read the rules a little bit here. The NARC beacon, once it's stuck onto a mech, is stuck in the location. It is only destroyed if the location that it's attached is destroyed. In all the following phases, any attack on a target with the NARC-equipped missile suffers a -1 target number modifier and adds +2 to the cluster rolls. Once a NARC pod is attached to the target, all NARC-equipped missiles capable of indirect fire can be fired indirectly at the target without a spotter. So that's not anything new. And then such attacks ignore blah, blah, spotter movement and blah, blah, blah. That's all normal. The NARC pods provide none of the above benefits while in the area of effect of an active enemy ECM suite. So this is what we were talking about earlier, where if you have ECM, you're immune to NARC pods on that unit. But the unit that fires the pods does not lose these benefits due to ECM. So
which
that's a little confusing. Yeah, they did clarify it. Go ahead.
So they clarified it's like the unit that fires the NARC-equipped missiles, that's shooting, that is immune to ECM. It's only the pod itself that can be jammed. So if you're in an ECM effect with your LRM-20 shooting out of the ECM at a target off in the distance that's been narked, the narc missile beacons fly and then acquire the target once they're out of the ECM, and then they get their bonus.
Yeah. So it's a little weird wording. This is one of the only pain points here, but
yeah,
that's generally
it just means
the
ECM, you have to put the ECM on the pod. So that is the defensive use of ECM. That's the only defensive use of ECM that's left, is if you move your own ECM into the area of effect of one of your friendly units that's been narked, then defensively you can protect them. But every other use of ECM is now offensive, where you have to go into the enemy's hex.
So narcs are getting a buff due to the -1 target number, which I really don't think they needed. I think they were fine as is.
Yeah, so narcs get a buff. iNarcs get a buff and a nerf. So iNarcs get a buff in that their pods can't be knocked off. They simplified it, which I think simplification is good, that the iNarc pod, just works exactly like a normal narc pod. You don't have all the rules about tracking where the pod is so you can punch it off and maybe punch yourself. That was cute and funny, but the iNarc is too niche and on too few units to have like a whole like paragraph of extra weird stuff. The nerf, though, is that iNarc used to be the narc that gave you -1 to the target number, and now it's all narc. So this just goes back into my problem with pricing, because I love narc and I use it all the time, right? And narc is really good, powerful. Though. Yeah. Well, narc is super good if you know how to use it.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know how to use it. Yeah. So, but iNarc is priced as if it gives the -1, and because the missiles are free, right? So that's part of the problem with the battle value. Yeah. So, because that was one of the things my opponents would always say is like, all your mechs are all going to take narc ammo. It's like, yeah, because it might cost C-bills for like a campaign, but on the table, the battle value is on the narc, and the regular narc cost almost nothing, and the iNarc cost more because of the -1. So now, just because we don't have the battle value updates, iNarcs are worse, right? Because they cost more, but the effect that they give isn't anything fancier than what a narc does. And they're longer range, but clan narcs are also longer range. So it's not like iNarc is like significantly longer range to, matter. So yeah, narc, a little too powerful just because we don't have battle value yet. So like when you're putting narc on the table, like again, with all the other feedback, oh, narc is better. Well, of course narc is better. But then, now come 2 years from now, that stalker that has a narc costs 500 more battle value because of how powerful narcs is. It's like, oh, well, everybody said overwhelmingly narc was so much better now, so we made it more expensive. And it's like, no, not like this.
Yeah, no. And again, if you have ECM, you're still immune to the narc, so you're just not going to get shot with it. And so this is when, defensively, this is when the incidental ECM comes into play versus narc, which is fine. Right. And there's enough incidental ECM. We went through this earlier.
Right. So. Yes. So the thing is, I think narc is priced pretty aggressively now, but it's hard to use. Like, it has a high skill cap. Whereas, now that it gives a -1, well, that's just dead simple, right? And ECM is slightly less useful because ECM anywhere on the attacker or the middle or the target side would block it. And now it only is blocked on the target side. So ECM is blocking narc less. Narc is better because of the -1 to hit. And -1 to hit is a lot easier to make use of than how I was using narc, which was I would narc something and then make use of the free no spotter indirect shooting.
I mean, it still
so
does
that part didn't change, but this is where it's like, I don't see the part in the rule where I don't get the -1. Right?
Yeah.
That's in the old narc rules.
I think you still get it for doing indirect as the way it's written now anyway. So that may be an oversight, but
yes. So now, like, that would be way, way too strong.
Yeah. That's literally giving you the SPA oblique attacker, I think.
Yes, exactly. For no battle value. The narc costs battle value, but the LRM carrier, because let's be real, when you say
that's
LRM,
what you're using more than
that's
likely.
what you're using. And as of today, since battle value is not out, right, your Archer, your LRM carrier, those narc missiles that you're putting in those mechs cost you nothing to do, but you're getting potentially a massive benefit. So that's just, because it's harder to jam with ECM and it's much more powerful at -1 and it keeps you can shoot without line of sight. So
and if you get lucky and narc whatchamacallit,
like center torso,
an AMS mech, which is because there's a chance to shoot down the narc pod on the way in.
Yes.
With AMS, it's not guaranteed. So if you do get lucky, you'll cancel out some of the AMS.
Yep. So it's just one of those things where, of course, this makes narc better. But for me, when I played narc, it was really powerful how I played it.
It didn't need to be better.
And it didn't need to be better. Yeah, because it was priced at just, giving you a little bonus and a big bonus for ignoring line of sight. But, you had to stick it first.
It's similar to C3 in that you can build your list around it to take advantage of it.
Right.
But
unlike C3,
it doesn't cost anything except for the unit that has the narc.
Right. It costs you the 50, 60 battle value of the narc unit, whereas C3 costs you a 1.3 multiplier on every single unit. So my archer with no narc that just has 2 LRM-20s gets a lot stronger if I bring a narc, but I didn't pay any battle value for that extra strength. This, again, it can be fixed in battle value in the future, but my feedback now is of course, it's a lot stronger. You made it stronger, but I'm missing the important part, which is what is it going to cost?
Yeah. And if they turn around and say, oh, well, narc ammo now increases battle value, or now you carry less ammo because it's narc and they have a bigger computer in the warhead.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And I'm fine with that. That would be great, but I'm missing those balancing parts. Half ammo for narc ammo, if it's giving you a -1, I would take that any day of the week.
Well, yeah, it's diet precision. Why wouldn't you take it? Actually, it's better than precision. Because it affects
that's how semi-guided
moving targets. Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's how semi-guided works, where it's more expensive per mech, but it gives you a big bonus. And the bonus, to be clear, for semi-guided is an accuracy bonus, right?
Yep.
You tag somebody, just like narc has to hit, tag has to hit, and then you get an accuracy bonus with your semi-guided. And let me tell you, people who've been the target of semi-guided will say that is some BS. It's so accurate.
Because it is.
Yes. And so now narc being just as big of a problem against certain units as semi-guided with, because the pricing's not there, is not healthy for the game.
I mean, there is at least ECM. There is at least some counterplay to it. I mean, but
and the bonus to accuracy is potentially less, right? Because
you're capped
it's -1 all the time.
Yeah.
Versus you ignore the target movement, which can be
up to 4.
If they don't move, that's 0, and if they move a bunch, then it's 3 potentially.
Yeah, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
Right. But a consistent bonus to hit is a very powerful effect, and this is not covering battle value, so it's just one of those things where we're missing the full picture.
It's real good, but
it's super good.
That's the problem, though. It's a little too good.
And the thing is that it's fine if it's too good, right? If it's priced like that. I don't know what feedback am I giving? It's really, really strong, way too strong, in fact, because the units that I tested with got narc for free.
Yeah. So they all got the -1 without paying battle value for it. I loved it. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was very strong.
They all got oblique attacker.
Right. Yeah. And my opponent's feedback was that was the most BS thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's going to bring 5 ECMs next time we play.
Yeah. Right. So, it's hard to evaluate without cost, but I've said that before. I'm going to say it probably for the next packet with missions.
Oh, of course. I mean, I'm going to say it too. So next up is physical weapons. So this is a bit of a big section. There's a bunch of physical weapons that have some adjustments here. We're going to try and run through them real quick. These are mostly really good changes overall. They're making the weapons more usable. So first up is the claw. It's changed the base target number modifier to 0. I think it was a +1.
+1.
Yeah, it was a +1 before, which is good. So less of a penalty to using it. Now you have a reason to punch with your claw instead of always kick.
Then the lance. The lance now does its 1 point internal on a 9. I feel like it was a 10 before. Don't quote me on that. I've used lances, but pretty rare.
Yeah, I used the Pouncer X that has one. I think it was a 9 if I remember correctly.
It's okay. So that part probably didn't change.
Yeah. So this didn't change. So the way the lance works, we'll get into that. That was something I have been asking since I learned lances existed in this game. Because, I mean, why not? So the way it works is if you hit, you get a and you only hit armor, by the way. This only happens if there's still armor in the location. You get a free chance to crit on a 9-up, and it deals 1 point of internal structure, which generates the crit. It's not like armor piercing ammo. This actually does a point of internal, and it's disdamage. This 1 point is not modified by TSM. The rest of the lance damage is. It's just a little tip poking in through the armor, and it doesn't trigger if you're already in structure, like I mentioned earlier. Big thing is if you charge and you have a lance, period. You don't have to attack with it. You just have to land the charge. The first location / facing that the charge damage is applied to that still has armor remaining afterwards gets the armor piercing check on a 5-up instead of the 9-up, which is huge. It makes charging really, really good because now you're getting that crit chance on a 5 to do that one internal damage.
This is mostly a style thing, right?
This is all style. This is pure flavor. This is not substance. There's not enough mechs with a lance to really justify this paragraph. But it's so tasty that I think it's worth it. Like, this is something that you can't have if you have a weapon called a lance in the game existing. You can't leave this out. You have to have
like Knights of the Inner Sphere, the knightly thing and charging.
Yeah, I need my Irby riding a Balius with a lance, to charge and nail that Kodiak or whatever it is.
Yep. So it's not like a big deal. It's just for flavor. And as a flavor rule, it's whatever, right?
This is the equivalent of landing a DFA. That's what this is. It's not a good decision. It's a fun decision. You're doing this for the shits and giggles on the table, which is,
in my opinion,
my favorite.
All of the other simplifications elsewhere are there just to make space for the lance being a little cooler.
And it's well
not better.
worth it.
It's still not good, right?
No, the lance is not good. We'll get to the chart in a minute. The lance is still not a good weapon. It's a fun, interesting weapon. It's the rack 5 of melee weapons.
Yeah, I agree. Mace no longer does a PSR for a miss.
Thank God. Oh my Lord. Why would you ever swing a mace instead of kicking?
The old rules way back in the day, maces used to do double damage. And so that was
I see
a lot,
why you would swing a mace. Okay.
That's why you would swing a mace.
Sense.
And it was so much damage that the drawback for the PSR was like, yeah, sure, I'm still swinging the mace, right? Like 40 damage instead of 20.
Absolutely.
With the mace versus a hatchet.
Swing that mace every chance you get.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so then in subsequent rules, they've lowered the damage because it was a little much. But now that they've lowered the damage, well, is the PSR still worth it? And now they're saying no. And I'm fine with that.
Absolutely.
Because the mace, as very originally printed, was just silly, right? It was just out of scope of the rest of the game. Yeah.
It's
hilarious,
the
but not in a fun way.
Yeah, it's it's either I hit and I win or I whiff and I fall on my ass and lose.
Right. But the specific thing is that when you had a mace, you usually had a higher piloting skill, right? So the PSR for missing is like meh. And if you have an incidental mace, you just never swing it, right?
Exactly.
Like if you just had a mace on your garbage raider, that's
exactly what I was thinking of.
4-5. Yes. It's like, oh, I'm just going to take a punch.
Yeah. Or kick. I'm just going to kick.
Right?
Why would I ever swing this thing?
I can't afford the crappy mace attack.
Even though it's fun, I'm never swinging it.
Right. Because it's like 2 points more damage, which is all fine and good, but it's too inaccurate for that. If I'm not running it as a dedicated melee with high piloting skill. So that's a fine change.
For reference, it is a +1 to hit, just like the lance, and it's 1 damage per 4 tons of mech.
Yeah, so that's the killer with it, where it's not a good weapon, right?
No. Why would
you pay battle value for a very inaccurate attack, and you pay a lot of tonnage also.
Yeah,
so getting rid of the PSR doesn't make it a good weapon.
No, it's only marginally more damage than a kick. Why would you ever swing this over a kick that's -2,
way more
which
accurate.
Is probably going to be nerfed to -1, but still, why would you ever swing this over a kick
-1
that's
is a lot better than +1.
Yeah, exactly. So
retractable blades are next. And these are, so the thing that I like retractable blades because I've had a lot of fun with them in the game. And I like my Celestial Omnimechs that come with retractable blades. Problem I have with this rule is like when you use the piercing optional rule, you're not swinging the retractable blade, you're making a normal punch attack.
Correct.
And so retractable blades make your punches better, but the blade itself is still a terrible physical weapon.
Yeah,
right?
It's a worse sword.
Right. So you're not taking the retractable blade for the retractable blade part. You're taking it because it's now the pile bunker that you punch something and then it goes out and sticks into them. But that's like...
Exactly. So
that's a different weapon.
Yeah. So for reference, it makes the piercing optional rule a standard rule. So it's always turned on. It's no longer BMM only.
Right. But,
and it removes the blade destruction check, which is also a big buff because snapping your blade off on the first hit always sucked.
But it doesn't make the actual retractable blade itself better. It just means that you use it to make punch attacks. Right.
Yeah. And it gives your punches that crit chance.
Yes, exactly. So you're not actually using the retractable blade. You're making punches, and your punches are better. And punches potentially, based on the leak, also got better. So this is kind of like one of those things where you're not taking the retractable blade for the blade, you're taking it for the punch. And it's just kind of like a...
it's a gimmick.
It's better. Yeah, but exactly.
It's a gimmick weapon again. I mean, it's not like the rack. It's more like the UAC 20 or,
as a weapon,
like that.
It's not good, right? Because it's
just a worse sword.
It's just a worse sword, exactly. But as a punch gimmick, it's really good.
Yeah,
so
it's a free crit chance, so why not?
Yes, exactly. So
why would you ever leave it out? You unsheath it on your punch and you sheath it again the next turn.
Yes,
and then kick them if you have to.
Right, exactly. You don't want to retract your blade. You want to only have it retracted.
Yeah, you never have it out.
You never have it out, which is kind of, I don't know, to me that defeats the purpose.
I mean,
it's not the Predator Claw. Like, imagine if the Predator Claw never stuck out because you wanted to punch people with it.
Yeah, I mean, they literally may as well rename it Pile Bunker from Retractable Blade.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's no longer a retractable blade, it's a pile bunker. So yeah, that's just a style thing for me.
It's a pile bunker you can poke things with if you really want to.
Yeah, but you'll never make a slash attack with it because that's just a bad idea.
Why would you? Yeah.
Right. And that kind of, they didn't talk about swords here, and that, I should say, goes into my problem with all of these weapons, because the shield I'll leave to you.
Oh, yeah, it's my favorite.
The sword and the hatchet are still terrible weapons. They didn't get better, and the retractable blade is just a sword, right? So the hatchet and the sword are just bad things because they clarified in the forums that you still take the +4 to penalty when you're using the option. So when you look at the physical attacks, punches roll on the punch table, right? Retractable blades, if you're not using the blade, rolls on the punch table. Claws roll on the punch table. The punch table is 6 times better than the regular table, just because it concentrates damage and you can hit the head so easily. So the fact that the hatchet is 1 damage per 5 tons with a -1 to hit, and 2 punches with the potential punch change are 1 damage per 10 tons times 2, which rounds up, for -1 on the table, but you get 2 of them for 2 chances to hit the head and 6 times more likely head hits. It's just making like swords and hatchets just really bad now that we have so many really good punching options.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like that.
Swords and hatchets are the best of the melee weapons, and they're still not better than punching or kicking.
Yes,
all the rest of them are just worse.
Right. So like claws and retractable blades, you don't use them for their thing. You use them for making punches better. The claw is just a punch with more damage, and the retractable blade is a punch with piercing. But punches are just so much better now that they're more accurate. So like the example we came up with was like my Griffin has 2 6 damage punches, right, at -1 with the leak. And if I gave Matt Griffin a hatchet, it would have 1 11 damage attack, and it wouldn't be using the full damage table. It wouldn't be using the punch table. It would be using the full damage table. So I paid 4 tons for a hatchet, and it does less damage than punching, and it does way less head hits than the hatchet that's being swung and coming down on their upper body. Yeah. And if I decide to use the punch table, well, now I'm just choosing to make a harder to hit attack versus just 2 punches.
Yeah, it's not a good decision.
Right. And whenever I've used a Nodachi with that fancy sword, like I never use the sword. I always run in and use 2 punches, because even before this change, a punch at 0 and a punch at +1, because the one hand doesn't have a hand, but on the punch table was just always so much better than the -2 to hit sword with only 1 attack.
Yeah, or you just kick and delete a leg.
Yes, exactly.
Because you have the TSM normally.
Right. So if you want accuracy, you know what I mean? The sword is a little bit more accurate, but it's almost half the damage, right? My 2 punches from the Nodachi, 28 damage on the punch table, 2 chances to head cap, which was versus 1 non-punch table, 22 damage sword. So it's less damage, less head hits, less attack rolls. It's just not, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, they did not make hatchets and swords better. And I think that's a big misstep.
Yeah, unless there's punch and kick nerfs that are coming that we don't know about.
Right.
Because the one that was in the leaked stuff was kicks are getting nerfed to -1 and punches are getting buffed to -1. So it's still a net loss for melee attacks.
And even if they don't buff, even if they don't go with the punch buff, which I don't think they should, I'm still like, because I played the Nodachi without the punch buff, right? And I still chose on my Charger KMZs and my Nodachis to make 2 punch attacks, because the 2 punch attacks on the punch table was just that much better than the slightly more accurate sword attack
on the full body.
Yeah, on the full body table. So yeah, if I was above them, right? Oh, well, now the sword's being on the punch table, but the kick is also on the punch table, and the kick would do 28 damage. So I'd rather 28 damage than 22 damage, because I'm not going to fail the PSR if I miss the kick, because I'm a melee mech with TSM. So I actually bought piloting skill.
Yeah, of course, you're likely a 4-3
on your TSM mech. Yeah, exactly.
At worst, you should be a 4-3.
Yeah. So that's my thing. They made a lot of really cool, flavorful changes in the melee weapons, but the 2 most important ones, the hatchet and the sword, they didn't address.
Yeah, and those are the yardstick by which all the other melee weapons are measured, and they still come up short.
Yep. So I'll leave the shields rules to you, because you also had some forum clarifications.
Yeah, so shields, which are the best melee weapon, just because you don't even use them to hit people most of the time. So shields are a very niche piece of equipment. I'm a little surprised they're bringing them into the main book, just based on the sheer number of mechs that have them that are actually seen on the table. There's a handful of Solaris mechs that have them. There's the Valiant, there's the Centurion 11OD, that only variant, and then there's the Black Knight that has like 4 or 5 different variants that all have shields. And that's pretty much it. There are no other mechs that have shields, and there are no non-Solaris mechs that have large shields. So let's get into it. So the way shields work is they act as damage reduction when you take a hit. So if you have a shield, they have to go on arm location. So it's either your left or right arm, and they now have 2 modes. It's either raised or lowered. And if it's raised, the shield will reduce damage to all attacks that hit locations on that side and the center torso. Not the head anymore. I think they got rid of the head because it used to block the head, if I remember correctly. And it also used to block the rear torso on that same side. So if you raise a shield in your right arm, you block your right arm, you block your right torso, the center torso, and your right leg. So your entire right arc is going to receive damage reduction if it gets hit. And the way shields reduce damage is there's 2 different numbers. There's the damage absorption number, which is the amount they reduce. It's basically your block number. So if a medium shield has a damage absorption of 5, so if you get hit with the medium laser on your right torso that you have blocked by a shield, the shield blocks all 5 of that damage, and it loses 1 damage capacity, which is basically shield health. And the shield has a decent amount of health as they go up in sizes. Like if I remember correctly, a medium has like 15 or 16 health. A small has like 7 or 8, and a large has like 23 or 24, something ridiculous. So the way it works is anytime you get hit, you reduce the damage capacity by 1. So if you block an LBX autocannon pellet, you reduce the damage capacity by 1. If you block another LBX 1 single damage, you lose another 1. So crit fishing weapons chew through shields very quickly. Large chunky weapons overwhelm shields. Medium damage weapons like medium lasers and AP Gauss rifles and stuff like that just get soaked up by the shield and end up doing nothing. So the small shield blocks 3, the medium blocks 5, and the large, I think, blocks 8. So there's only 1 mech with a large shield, and it's a Solaris mech, so you're probably never going to see it on the table. As of now, these changes give me hope, that we will see more table legal mechs with shields in the future. So that's just how shields work. So when they're lowered, any attacks that hit the arm get the damage reduction because that's where the shield is. You're hitting the shield if it's on the arm. In addition, any crits that would hit a location, so let's say you get a through armor crit to the center torso or a floating crit to any of the locations blocked, the shield now takes the crit. And instead of, the crit destroying the shield, the way it works is the shield loses 1 damage absorption, so it's now less effective. So a medium now absorbs 4, and it also loses 5 health from the shield. So it takes a chunk out of the shield and it's less effective. The good news is once a shield is completely out of damage capacity or damage absorbance or block value, whatever you want to call it, you lose the movement penalty, if any, for carrying the shield, and you get your speed back. So once you're done with it, it's like once it's completely chewed up, you get your movement back. So medium and large shields reduce your movement. Medium reduces your walk speed by 1, which affects your run and your maximum jump. Larges, I think, reduce it by 2, and you cannot jump with a large shield. Light, the small shields do not reduce your movement at all, as of now.
And those are form clarifications because that's not part of the playtest.
Those are part of the old rules that did not get transferred over. So Zodal was very clear in that these new rules replace all of the old rules, but the ones that I'm bringing up still apply as far as we know. He said he's going to bring the shield chart over, and also the fact if you take hand actuator or arm actuator crits, it also reduces the damage absorption of a shield. So there are Black Knights, all the Black Knights actually, that have a shield are missing the hand actuator in the arm that has the medium shield. So all of their damage absorption is a 4 instead of the 5 that it should be, which is really bad. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but now you're no longer soaking the entire medium laser. That medium laser is still plinking you for 1 in your arm.
Yeah, it's a big difference from just having a hand actuator.
Yeah.
So
and the worst part is
update the book, right?
Yeah, he's going to update the release. The next release is going to have these, clarifications in it. So yeah, the sad fact is that a lot of those a lot of those Black Knights can have a hand actuator. They have the room for it, but they just don't, which super sucks. So in addition, shields only block damage. They don't block tag. They don't block heat. They don't block, narc or anything like that. Mines, area of effect damage, terrain damage, falling damage, shields don't help you. It's only for getting shot and punched and all that, kicked. The shield will block all of that. And you can now raise the shield at the beginning of each phase, where previously you had to choose whether or not it was going to be lowered for the entire round during the movement phase. And this next part is arguably the best part. Now you can do so you could always bash with the shield before, but now they do increased damage. And I think this increased damage is replacing the 2-hit modifier, because before a small shield used to give you a -1, a medium used to give you a -2, and a large used to give you a -3. Now they just give you +1, +2, and +3 damage instead. So now a medium shield gives you extra 2 damage when you punch with the shield. Before, if you did the special shield bash, it used to reduce the damage capacity by 1. So your shield would take 1 point of damage. Now that no longer applies, as far as I can tell from these changes. And the best part is you can now charge with a shield, and the damage you receive from the charge all gets directed into the arm that has the shield. So if you're a light mech and you charge something that's like 50 tons, all that damage goes straight to the shield and you absorb the majority of it. Like the Valiant.
Yeah, we talked about this off camera, where it's like it's another one of those rules like the Lance, where they simplified it so that they could add a cool extra bit for charging.
Yeah, and I will take that any day of the week. This is fun. Shields are actually very good, in my opinion, in the game. I think they're very powerful, but they're also very expensive opportunity cost-wise, because you lose movement for having the good ones. And now it's just giving more flavor into having that shield. You can really replay, 300 walking around with your shield and bonking people with it.
I was going to say
ramming
Captain
them
America.
with a charge. Well, yeah, Captain America. Well, you can't throw it, unfortunately. So,
okay. But at least you can charge with it. Like
you can make your paladin dreams come true with your Black Knights by bonking people with your shield and then bipping them with the sword the next turn.
So we'll have to wait for the second packet just to get the rest of the missing chart. But shields, I shields used to have 3 modes. So
Yeah.
even if you hate shields, right? Shields going from 3 modes to 2 modes is a positive to the game because that's just one less extra thing to keep track of.
Yeah, and it reduced a whole bunch of rules where like you could fire some weapons in some locations, but it was at +2, and now all of that's gone. Now it's just straight up, you're either blocking or you're not. And if you're blocking, all of the locations that the shield is covering cannot fire weapons. I forgot to mention that. So it
could be cleared up a little bit more, but this is, compared to what it used to be, this is a lot more.
I think it's as streamlined as you can get it, except for the charge, which is staying because it's fun.
Right. Well, except for they have to expand the chart, but the chart probably was always going to be in there anyway. Yeah, this physical weapon attack table is not complete.
It's not comprehensive. Like they could have just added the shields to this chart.
Yeah, there's quite a few things missing from that chart.
Yeah. So that does it for the actual weapons. Mm-hmm. Last up is the special munitions, and there's only 3 different special ammos that they touch on, and we're going to try and get through this quick because we've already been at this for over 2 hours. So
we end up having so much more to say than we think we do.
Right? I mean, I thought we'd get through this one faster. So, I mean, it was just all good. We just wanted to talk about it more and more because it was so good. So armor piercing ammo for autocannons is now an ammo multiplier of 0.8, and they no longer have the +1 to hit. In addition,
which was clarified, right?
Yeah, which was clarified. It's not in the packet right now. Zodal clarified it. It's going to be in the next reissuance of the packet. But in addition, they buffed the determining critical hits roll for the AP ammo. Now, PAC2s, AC2s, PAC4s, and AC5s only have a -2 to the crit check for AP ammo. And then 8s, 10s, and 20s now are a -1. So that's a huge buff to AP AC2 ammo. That means it's usable. Now, AP ammo is an option. Yeah, now it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's straight up very powerful.
Yeah. And unfortunately, though, it comes with precision ammo also getting bumped up in the multiplier to 0.6. So now AC ammo has 3 shots per ton of precision autocannon ammo. And it really didn't need that buff, honestly.
Yep. And then acid missiles are better. The ammo, they get more ammo and you get less cluster penalty, and nothing else seems to be changed. Just as a reminder, SRMs deal 3 damage to any armor with the Ferro type.
That includes Ferro Lam.
Ferro Lam, Ferro Fibrous, Light Ferro, Heavy Ferro, Clan Ferro. There's quite a few Ferros. So the thing with acid missiles is like you do 3 damage instead of 2. That is 50% more, but we're missing the battle value for that. So acid missiles are just strictly too powerful, right? Like,
and they counter ferrolamellar too, if I'm not mistaken. They do full damage. They don't get reduced.
Well, an SRM does 2. It would do 1 against ferrolam, but the acid missiles does 2 damage to ferrolam.
Really? I thought they'd ignored.
So it kind of counters it.
I thought it ignored the -1 damage. I thought it did.
No,
I could be wrong.
It goes from 3 to 2. So it counts as like a regular SRM.
Okay, I thought there was a specific call out in ferrolam that said it.
I didn't see that.
Goes through it. I might be misremembering. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But I remember acid doing something special to a specific armor.
They treat like normal missiles, from what I remember. So the thing with acid is that it's just strictly better. So this is one of those things where we're missing the battle value component. Like acid missiles are just really, really powerful because remember, these are optional ammos. So if you have 3 tons of SRM ammo and you put one of them as acid, it's not like you're penalized when you're taking SRMs because you don't shoot the acid missiles at a target unless it has ferro because it's optional ammo, right? So it's only going to be used when it's useful. So therefore, there's no drawback. Now, if you have only 1 ton of ammo and you decide to take acid, because the cluster table and the ammo multiplier are better, you can get away with, if you only have 1 ton of ammo, taking acid. Your clusters are slightly worse. So if you're going into a mission blind, there's only the tiniest amount of risk that they don't take a single ferro armor unit. But whereas before, at least it was more interesting because you lose ammo, you take a bigger cluster multiplier. So there was some drawback. It's just 3 damage versus 2 is a lot more damage when you know how the SRMs do so many clusters, right? Like a longbow with 42 SRMs didn't need to deal 50% more damage.
Yeah. The only caveat is that I don't think the acid damage can do any structure damage.
If you get bonus damage versus the armor,
you
can still deal subsequently, you can deal damage to them.
That's what it was. The excess damage from a warhead will not spill over into the structure.
Right. But I mean, it's like free bonus damage. So sometimes the free bonus damage doesn't apply because they ran out of ferrofibrous armor. But it's just like, okay, my bonus no longer applies, but I still burn through your ferrofibrous armor 50% faster for free. Once the battle value comes out, that'll probably be addressed. It's just that in the meantime, acid's ridiculously overpowered because you only use it if the enemy has ferro, and they're not going to be happy when they literally melt in a pool of acid. Like you run that 6 SRM6 Vulture up to something with ferro, and it's just like, you do how much damage per missile? Let me see that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And I mean, it's in the same vein as Tandem Charge at this point. It's just really good with no downsides.
Right. When it's good, it's not good. It's just like your opponent is just unhappy. And precision, if you don't know, the reason why normal autocannons are so powerful right now is because of precision ammo. Precision ammo is really strong because accuracy buffs in the game are really strong, and more precision ammo per ton. The one drawback with precision was that you might run out of ammo, and now you're less likely to run out of ammo. So like the one drawback they had is now less bad. So it's just one of those things where it didn't need the buff, and we're 2 years out from the battle value change. In the battle value change, precision is probably going to be much more expensive, but that's 2 years from now.
Yeah, hopefully.
So in the meantime, it's like, yeah, precision's better, and it didn't need to be better. It was already really good.
So now the best autocannons are standard autocannons, which has always been the case. And now instead of having precision as the only viable option, now you have armor piercing and precision as the viable options.
Somebody else said this. I'm just going to steal what they said, where it's the ammo multiplier going up from half to 0.8 and the no +1 penalty and all of the buffs they get means that armor piercing ammo is now the standard ammo. It's just so much better that the drawback was that you had less shots and it was a penalty to hit. Now you have more shots and there's no penalty to hit. So your autocannon 2 is just going to have 30 something shots of AP all the time.
No, only 30 shots?
Yeah. And so you're never going to run out of AP ammo unless you have like 1 ton of ammo of it, but that's on you, right? There's no reason you can't just take all AP ammo. And let me tell you, a whole bunch of AC2s, all generating crits. The AC2, your opponents are not equipped to deal with quad AC2 maulers that are generating 4 extra crit chances per turn with no ammo issues and no hit penalty issues.
Or the AC2 carrier, or any blackjack, or, you know.
Yes. So yes, armor piercing ammo is good, but it's so much better that you should never ever take standard ammo. And Battletech has a thing about everything has a side grade, right? So this is such a strict upgrade that I don't like it. It's like I wanted AP ammo to be better because the +1 penalty to hit was really punishing.
Yeah.
But then
just remove the +1.
Yeah. They buffed it so much that now it's like if you have an Ultra AC2 or a normal AC2, the Ultra AC2 is just trash.
It's now the worst weapon compared to regular AC. The Ultra varieties are now just straight up worse.
Right. Because you might deal 2 extra damage with the Ultra, but the crit chance that you get from the AC2 is really powerful at -2, because that means there's a 1 in 6 chance you get some kind of crit, and a 1 in 36 that you get 2 crits. That's when you're shooting them every single turn, multiple times, because you usually have more than 1 AC2. That adds up really fast. Yeah. And there's no counterplay.
Yeah, and it's golden BB stocks going up. I mean,
yes,
this is the ultimate golden BB. It's just going to happen more often because you're checking every time you hit.
Yep. In an Ultra AC2, right, it would only have 22.5 salvos because it takes 2 shots every time it rapid fires. Whereas the armor piercing, it used to be half, right? And so it would be the same amount of shots as an Ultra with your armor piercing. So at least the ammo was comparable. But now you get, what is that, 45 times 8, 36 shots? Like 36 shots versus 22. So 1 ton of ammo will feed 3 AC2s, no problem, right? That's 12 rounds right there. It leaves you with, because the ammo multiplier is so high, that leaves you the ability to take precision as well, right? Because you're not going to have ammo issues now. You don't have to pick and choose because you're going to run out of ammo. You just have it all. The ammo multiplier is so high, you'll have a whole bunch of precision that you'll never run out of, and you'll have a whole bunch of armor piercing that you'll also never run out of. So yeah,
it honestly punishes you for being a clanner and bringing an ultra autocannon.
Yes, right. So like the example somebody else mentioned was there's a Bane. The Bane has a whole bunch of ultra AC2, and then there's a Bane that has a whole bunch of Protomech AC2s. And the Bane with the Protomech AC2s costs a lot less because of how ultras are priced. And with these new ammos, the Protomech AC2 Bane is just going to rip and tear. And the Ultra AC2 one is just going to be a joke, like, haha, look how terrible I am. Like, it'll plink you, but the Protomech AC2 one will also plink you 4 less while generating like 2 to 3 crits per turn. And it'll never run out of ammo, unlike the
Ultra
AC2
the standard,
Bane.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, I think the pendulum swung a little too hard there.
Yeah. I mean, it's an overcorrection. I mean, there's no other way around it. I mean, at this point, put the +1 back in, honestly.
Well, but nobody liked the +1. So I think it just needs to be looked at again.
Yeah. And with it being this good, put the +1 back.
Yeah. Well, yes. Right. So it's like, you can't have basically infinite ammo and super effective critical rolls and no penalty to hit, because it just replaces your normal autocannons.
Yeah.
Like an AC-10, there's a couple decent AC-10 mechs, because even in the Ill Clan, precision ammo was so good, they actually started making normal autocannon mechs instead of LB-20 or Ultra AC-20 mechs. Like, that's just how good specialty ammos are. And now we're getting even better specialty munitions. So it was already better than the other autocannons somehow, and now it's even betterer. It's a win more, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now it's like, do you want steak or do you want lobster? Do you want your armor piercing or do you want your precision?
And because of the ammo situation, how about both? Surf and turf. Yeah, everybody gets surf and turf now.
Exactly. God damn it. Unless you only have 1 ton, then you have to pick. But if you have
only 1 ton, then you're like a blackjack with an AC2.
Yeah, exactly.
And your AC2s, you just take AP because you'll never run out, right? You have 36 rounds of ammo for your 2 AC2s, and your AC2s are slapping. Like, I can't understate
when you hit it, fucking hurts.
Yeah.
There's a chance it'll sting.
Well, it's a 1 in 6 chance, but you got to remember, you play at least 6 turns of the game, right? And autocannons are low heat and long range. So you apply them the entire game.
Yeah, you're starting firing those on turn 1 if you're a blackjack.
Yep. Yeah. And the crits are so dangerous that even though in the mobility rules in the last one, they made golden BBs slightly worse, that only applies if you're like, oh, I rolled a snake eyes, right? So my 1 gyro hit isn't as crippling. Let me tell you though, a bunch of AP2s hitting your center torso, they didn't do anything to help it if you got 2 gyro hits.
Yeah. I mean, the golden BB being less effective is only effective if there's the same amount of golden BBs or less. Not if there's more. If there's more golden BBs, then it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot more, not just more. This is a lot more.
Yes, exactly. Right. So if you could have survived 1 golden BB thanks to the survival rules making the gyro not as bad, they didn't, the second one, your gyro's destroyed. Now you're just on the ground for the rest of the game. Or, oh, I got hip crit. It's not as bad as it used to be. Well, yeah, but how about if I hit your other hip? It's like, oh, well, no, now it's really bad.
Now it's terrible. Yeah.
Now it's terrible. Yeah. Or it's like, oh, the ammo is not as deadly thanks to the case change. It's like, what if I, got 3 or 4 more ammo crits through your armor because I just have a bunch of AC2s? It's like, oh, no, I'm not prepared to take. I could survive 1 ammo hit thanks to the case change. I can't survive 2 ammo hits.
Yeah, or counter firing. Oh, hey, my autocannon absorbed that first.
Yeah, right. Well, how about the other 3? Because you're not going to take 1 AC2.
Yeah, I mean, they usually come in a pair. most of the time,
Yes.
or a rack
Right.
at that point. But
the Mauler has 4. The Bane has, I think, 10.
It's ridiculous.
The AC Carrier has 5. The Pike has 3. The Blackjack, like you said, has 2. The Jägermech has 4 autocannons.
2, I think. One of them, anyway.
Rifleman has some of the Riflemen's with some of the Riflemen's have 4 autocannons because of the light autocannons. Yeah, there's quite a few quad autocannon mechs.
Yeah.
The Davians love their autocannons after all.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just about to say. More DACA, more better.
Yeah. So I love the changes because they're usually like all better, but better doesn't mean better for the game.
Yeah, this is 2 better.
Yeah, it's 2 better. And again, battle value could nip this right in the bud.
Yeah, if it gets a battle value cost, like, oh, hey, well, now you're spending 100 battle value for your armor piercing ammo.
Exactly. And it honestly, it should, right? Like battle value should fairly, because I can kill a mech a million times, and we can come up with exactly how much better an armor piercing autocannon ammo is, right? That's not the issue. The issue is that any battle value change is 2 years away. So
I mean that
because the core rulebook is going to come out, and then the tech manual replacement with battle value is going to come out.
Yeah, and this is just the first round of testing. They're going to have something. They're trying to have something out by Gen Con of next year. I think that's ambitious, to say the least, because the feedback window for this doesn't close until January. Not this specific playtest packet, but all of them. The last of them don't close until January.
And the lead time on book publishing it's still 18 months, right?
Something like that. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Because Ill Clan's Eyes Only, they might have finished the book, but that doesn't mean the book was out. It took, I think it took an extra year. I mean, because of the way shipping
there
works.
was some shipping nonsense going on too at the time.
So, I mean, like, the book's not written yet, and it takes 18 months usually. So if they have something by Gen Con, it might be the limited edition proof books.
It'll be one copy in somebody's hands that they have chained to their wrist.
Right. That's still pending final changes.
Yeah.
Because those proof copies still have edits that have to go into them.
Yeah, and that worries me because they have to tweak battle value to the point where there's some semblance of balance with all of these changes, and that's not a lot of time to do it.
Yeah. Keith Hans Ottel, you got your work cut out for you.
Yeah, I do not envy him because the battle value formula is going to have to be rewritten basically at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be such a comprehensively different beast based on these rules changes.
Yeah, as a content creator, this is great because that means everything we did previously is out the window and we have to do it all over again. So all those mech reviews, all those, the efficient mechs, the Dasher Age, blah, 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 it's all gone. You have to start from scratch.
Well, hopefully, we don't know.
Yeah, it might just be back to square one. We're like, crap.
Yeah, Dasher H, still the best Dasher.
Yeah, still the best light mech.
We missed the mech.
Yeah, Pulse is still too good. I mean, hopefully. I mean, there's always the chance for overcorrection and all that, but
like my final thoughts, I do want to say I'm super positive on the specific changes to specific items, meaning like ABA armor, anti-ballistic armor, is now just for like anti-ballistic or whatever, right? It doesn't also do the anti-penetrative stuff. So I think that's all great. I love that.
Yeah.
All the standardization, so good.
Yeah, removing the feels bad moments from autocannons or ultra autocannons and buffing weapons that needed a buff.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's also buffing weapons that didn't need a buff, but
cutting useless text from some weapons.
Yes,
right?
Streamlining things, bringing shields into the main game.
Exactly.
To the main
the
book.
gyro is now like a real thing. It doesn't have just a bad dead entry. Like these are all positive changes. The only negative is that we're just missing the full picture.
Yeah, and we're missing the battle value aspect, which, I mean, if there was like, some beta ballpark rules for battle value out there, I mean, we would test the crap out of them. We definitely would. We'd be like, no, this doesn't feel right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so I really hope they let us test those.
The MRMs, right? I can't stand the +1 on MRMs because it's just such a feel bad.
Yeah,
I brought MRMs.
It's precision ammo. Why would you take it?
All of the time.
I'm sorry, it's armor piercing ammo. Why would you take it? It's the old armor piercing ammo. Why would you take it?
Yeah, +1 penalty. So like the medium range missiles, like I'm going to enjoy on the table because of just how much more powerful they are. It's just, yeah, of course they're more powerful, but they were still, when I play my games, my playtest games, I should note, have all been battle value balanced, right? I might throw like extra things based on the mission. Like in this mission that I play, these guys get more battle value because of the narrative or the mission or whatever. But like, it's still like 50% to 100% with the mission objectives and stuff like that. So the fact that MRMs are better, but not changed in battle value, it definitely like skews my impressions.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything that we're talking about as the asterisk of needs to be battle value balanced, of course.
Well, yeah, because if they come back after all this feedback that, oh, we all love MRMs with no +1 to hit. Great. Here's the new MRMs. Oh, it's like my mech is 300 battle value more. Now I can't even afford the mech anymore. It's like, well, you said you wanted better MRMs.
Yeah.
So that's the asterisk.
Yeah. And I think we're going to call tonight. But before that, I'm going to kick the can of worms a little bit and say the word quirk did come up in the aerospace playtest packet. And I'm just going to leave it at that and say good night, everybody.
We need a week before we even tackle that.
Oh, yeah. No, I have strong feelings when it comes to quirks as a tabletop RPG player, but we don't have time to do that. We've already been talking for over 2.5 hours, and I got to get to bed.
The other playtest will be a very different conversation.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it was fun talking with you again, Brad. I could do this every night. The problem is I stay up way too late when I do it.
Yeah. My overnight schedule kind of brutal.
All right. Well, say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.